Byron's just kind of the source of that for the other side. Does have a super in hand, is powering up the teammates, but if you're not getting the damage necessary or charging up those supers, it's not going to matter too much. It's all hands on deck right now for Octopus Primes, though they do have 3 supers, so if they want to make a turnaround here, this fog closing in is going to be their opportunity.
Those bricks that Octopus Primes are hiding behind are unbreakable, so Shitampo can't walk up there and pop in a way to take them out. Tensai can't remove them with a gadget either. Here they come, though! Oh my goodness! Vex trying to get away, has to use the super to escape, but Troy's in trouble, and the gas eventually creeps in to claim the last of the Octopus Primes. A very strong showing in that particular round here from Crazy Raccoon, and we are not surprised. They had the map control, they had the positioning, they had the pressure, they had it all.
They can simply do no wrong. It's interesting too, qualifiers data shows that this combination of Byron and Bonnie, not necessarily the best, so this is a little bit of a bold call, but I think those are the kind of bold calls you kind of have to do when you're an underdog, going against Crazy Raccoon, going against such a tenured team, and already Satapo showing off some mechanics here. A big pop-off from Piper on that right-hand din, looking for one more on Vex, who's just going to have to back away from now, and without their valuable healer, this just got significantly harder for the red roster.
Again, having Byron against a healer like Pam can be helpful, right? Melee's cutting the healing effects can give you windows, but it's a little marginal at this point, I think, especially if you can't hold your own when it comes to shooting. Troya is in deep trouble. They are now wielding a Pew shooter and will be brought to heal awfully quick.
Yeah, it's just a tough look here for Octopus Primes. Not a lot to be done, not really fragging out whatsoever. In a game mode where kills are quite literally everything, they got to put some on the board here. They got to put CR in an awkward spot, but CR are unfortunately just some mechanical gods. They are not missing shots. They're going to be taking these long-range looks and going to be connecting here. We've seen Satapo pop off quite a few times, and already this open right-hand side is going to allow them to put some pressure. Piper is going to be absolutely lethal from this long distance.
Oh, what a beautiful sideline to have available to you, Vex. Not a fast brawler by any stretch. Doesn't hit particularly hard either. It's the consistency that you want from Bonnie. But my goodness, the homemade recipe takes Vex awfully low. Tenma has to just give direct healing to the Bonnie to keep her in the fight.
This is such an interesting perspective here, too. It's going to be one of the most popular comps versus something on OP that need to stand out and be different in a positive way. Vex with a perfectly timed jump, though, going to make that connection, and a big turnaround here, too. It's just a lone Moya here, 1 healing station and 1 brawler, and just going to go into the fog for now. Doesn't want to charge up any additional supers. So all of a sudden, a little life here from a red roster.
Do we like to see that from Octopus Prime's supers, though? Not to hand right now. Moira again will just deploy another healing turret, meaning the Tensai can play just that little more aggressively. Shitapo also going to play around that. It's an unbreakable L-shaped wall, so that healing turret is going absolutely bloody nowhere unless there's what? Byron super? Yeah, forget about it.
Yeah, that thing's staying up for a long time. I mean, they got a Bonnie dive in. They're going to have to swing a baseball bat with Meg. It's going to take something special, so that's a huge advantage, especially with that indestructible wall as well. That's going to be sticking around for a long, long time. Not to mention, too, Satapo has a way to get in and out of Harry's situation, so if he wants to get a little aggressive like you see there, going to be hitting a couple taps. Vex forced to charge up and now back off as well. CR with this healing station with connected shots are going to have such great positioning when this storm starts to close in.
At some point, there has to be an all-in from Octopus Primes, but doing that on top of a healing turret sounds absolutely unhinged. They need to find some pressure. You see that's what's happening now. Troy is giving up a lot of their HP in order to get closer to Moya, but they missed the super swing. Vex has the super out of there. Oh, Octopus Primes are cooked. Here it is, Moya coming forward now. Scrap Sucker, I think that was. Troya absolutely stuck there looking on, and eventually the Mini-Meg will be taken down, and Crazy Raccoon get the job done.
I was hoping the best for Mini Meg there, but once that healing station went to a more aggressive state, once they put in that top left one instead, and Bonnie was forced to use a super to jump away, you knew it was a nightmare. It was over at that moment. Crazy Raccoon just staying disciplined, taking care of business, just doing the things that we expect them to do, right? These guys are veterans. They know what they're doing. And not to mention, too, they drafted a very safe, solid, and winning-proven comp. And on the other end, they went for something a little more out there, which I respect, which I've seen in practices across Apex scrims, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just gotta go with what you know, and Crazy Raccoon didn't have to reinvent the wheel there at all.
It definitely feels like Byron can't interact, or at least like hamper the healing of Pam nearly enough for it to be justified here, right? I like the fact that you can provide that direct healing, but that's using up your ammunition on a teammate and not a foe.
Yeah, it's hard. I go back and forth because I want to see new brawlers. I want to see new strategies incorporated. But at the end of the day, if they're not successful, it's not going to work out. So I think Octopus Primes went for it, didn't go their way that time. And also in a mode that promotes so much aggression, that forces you to get up close to your enemies, to hit shots. Byron is somebody that I think is fine. Good state right now. Definitely somebody that I feel is a little more balanced after these balance changes. But at the same time, when you're going into the likes of somebody like Piper, who's just going to be so heavy hitting, I just don't know if you can keep up with that firepower.
Is it Troy? They're trying to go for a super swing in Meg. It does good damage in fairness, but just not nearly enough. Combine that, I guess, with Byron Super, and all of a sudden you're starting to cook a little bit more, but you have to go all in. You have to get awfully close. Bonnie is just a head scratcher for me. I think I understand the premise of it there, but you never have enough health to dive. You're getting poked down, and you're often just getting blown up as soon as you turn up, especially if, God forbid, you get scrap sucked as you try and actually go in with that close range damage. She does hit harder now, and she does build that super a little bit easier. But more often than not, I saw the Bonnie jumping out and not in. Hit harder now, and she does build that super a little bit easier.
Using them for defense, you're not getting kills. It all kind of adds up. It's these little plays that go a long ways. And even in the moments where they finally charged up those supers, they got punished by Crazy Raccoon. I just think I really liked the combination of that Piper and Pam just working together, the healing going down. Somebody who's a little squishier now, Piper, like Reddy mentioned earlier, can really be taken down with really heavy hitting shots. I mean, that little HP difference is a big deal. So I think having the extra heals, having the safety mechanism in that healing station really added up. I just think it resulted in a safe, easy, Crazy Raccoon victory. Not to mention, too, these guys are not going to miss shots. It's just the way the world works. Crazy Raccoon hit their shots. They're mechanical gods. They're going to have to keep doing something special, I think, on the other end, so I respect that they went for it. That just wasn't the one.
We're off to a bit of an all-star map here on Hot Zone. It's going to be Dueling Beetles. Again, a map characterized again by that singular hot zone on the two enclosed areas at north and south that teams often basically spam throwers if they possibly can. Again, with your most popular brawlers here being Larry and Laurie, of course, Lou with that hypercharged star power, basically just locking people in place instantly. And Tick is so good for that consistent damage. And again, Tick Super is very good against throwers, right? So pretty effective if you're expecting your opponents to follow that same line of thinking. Pam going to be locked in here. You'll expect Tensai to try and deploy the healing turret at the bottom of that hot zone here. Try and keep it protected from throwers and push them off and out of range of it.
Here comes the Byron again, too. This is actually one of the maps I saw Byron practice most, surprisingly. And as a result, really good brawler for the other side in Crazy Raccoon. They're going to grab Miko as well, though. Okay, a little back and forth here. Miko is somebody that I haven't seen a ton on this map, so I'm interested to see in how they use it. I feel like Tensai is going to have to be an aggressor here, and they're going to be using Satampo and Moya to kind of hunker down, drop a healing station, and similar to what we saw in the game mode before, but this time it's going to help them stay in the mid on point. And already, just like that, 12% being charged up for Crazy Raccoon. So once Moya gets a healing station, that's going to help him out. But as a result, Jesse has that bounce shot too. So I do think there's a few counter abilities here coming in for Octopus Primes that I actually do kind of like.
Oh, the threat of the Miko is real. Tensai gets caught out. Vex able to get the self-heal there even after the slow came in for the Miko. Troya now able to move up. Constant pressure from Shitampo here. And again, if they have the sort of spider gadget, which is possible, that's very good at sort of forcing people away and out of position. Tensai got blown up again. Tenma's getting a lot of value here when they can move up. Eventually, though, they get caught by Shitampo. 29% though for Octopus Primes are in the lead, and those spiders were short-lived.
Shut down immediately too. I love Amber just for the consistent tapping that she can do, but now they've got this healing station in position. They need some positioning as well on the side for the red roster. If they can get strong lead, get the middle of the map, and have a Jesse turret down with a future hypercharge, if they can hopefully get there, that's the opportunity for them. But right now, it's the Tampo's the one with the hypercharge. It's Moya with positioning. They shut down any signs of Octopus Primes taking over, and now Miko's just cycling in supers. This is getting out of hand quick.
A lot of damage. The Byron's looking much better here with that sort of hybrid thrower element of his super can come into play a bit more. Still not much you can do about the healing turret behind the unbreakable wall as per usual. And Tensai again emerges from the bushes. Look out for that hypercharge here from Shitampo. Not only, of course, you're going to get the cocoon, but 3 spiderlings that spawn off of it. Still, though, against this composition, Amber especially, it's very hard to keep those little pets alive or get them close enough to do the damage. Vex is diving. I love this strat against anyone really. The Pam or the Miko. Just throw super down, get that healing and damage, give yourself a big HP lead, but that turret is hitting hard. Chitampo is going to be forced off the point. CR, though, are up to 82%.
And now they've got a very healthy turret on the left-hand din, and Troya can keep healing it up a little bit too, so the boosted HP is going to make that thing stick around. Essentially, they have a fourth brawler here, and now they're getting neck and neck in terms of percentage on this hot zone as well. This might actually come down to the wire, and if anything, might be in favor of the red roster.
Octopus Prime's getting out into the lead now. This Byron is so oppressive. Once more, Chitampo falling here. Tenma throwing the super down. Oil covering the map. Moya steps up, and Octopus Primes, with a really impressive composition, take away this first round.
Much more evenly matched, and I think not nearly as out there of a composition. There's actually some things that work out in their favor. The second we see Pam on that draft, immediately, I think Jesse, if they can get in positioning and have Scrappy in a solid state pressed up against enemy walls, or just in a spot there where they have that hypercharge and a 9,000 some odd HP turret, it adds a fourth brawler. Not to mention they get Vex in here, as Byron didn't work out in that last one. This time around, it seems to be working a little bit better. Amber going to be able to pierce through those spiders. Jesse able to pierce through those spiders. I think those little things add up to give Octopus Primes a little bit of a favor in that sense. At the end of the day, though, it only gave them about a 14% win, so they're definitely going to be fighting for another game here.
Miko, so risky, and also gets absolutely trolled by Byron just throwing super at the ground with the right timing. That last part, though, is important. It'll be very, very hard to actually hit Miko when he's jumping at you, and catch him when he's got his feet on the ground and is actually vulnerable. Again, Tensai tries for the gadget slow. Gets absolutely nuked by Tenma.
Oh. And now they're in this position that I was referencing earlier. We've got Scrappy on the right-hand side with 9,900 HP, can be healed with Jesse. Again! On to Chitampo, and now they have 50+%, and Amber Gadget going down, and CR are stuffed in the back of their spawn.
Tensai can't get anything done. There's no sustain on the
and this is looking worse and worse. I mean, finally CR starting to expand a little bit, but Tensai shut down by the Amber Gadget. Vex there to heal, and the red roster standing firm in mid. A dominant game number 2, and after heavy criticism from me in game number 1, that draft was a significant step up from Octopus Primes. I'm really impressed with that one.
Tell me, how are Crazy Raccoons supposed to get rid of that big Jesse turret? Like, what, how? Even especially when it gets healed, right? Like, this is no way.
Yeah.
There's no way that Miko has a star power that does more damage to deployables. Like, this is not happening.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I don't think with the composition that Crazy Raccoon drafted that they really had any way to deal with Jesse. I'll be honest, I think the Mikos on paper, it looks good, right? You get these individual matchups, but at the end of the day, it's a team game. I don't think it necessarily was something that I loved, and I think some of the criticism that Crazy Raccoon have gotten in the past and more recent history is some of these weird moments where we get some weird drafts. It was actually on that map in particular that they got a lot of criticism on at the World Finals when they lost to Zeta Division for just not picking something that was the best. And I think right there, maybe it's the map. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like Octopus Primes ended up with a better draft, and the results kind of showed it. I mean,
like, it's a great pick, obviously, the Miko with Tensai. Very powerful. But again, here, like, often you're trying to chase. I love that hypercharge from Troya to have the move speed to get away outside of Tensai's jump range, because Tensai does not have the gadget that gives him a longer first jump. You cannot do anything to catch the Jesse there.
Yeah, and once Scrappy's just stationed, it's an extra brawler on the field, essentially. And somebody like Tensai, not really going to be able to deal with that super quickly. I mean, Pam not going to have the highest DPS, and especially from a distance, you know, Pam's shot's not going to shred through a turret, especially one like you see there at 9,900 HP with that hypercharge. Jesse is in a strong spot in the—
it's like a Daryl.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. When you compare it to another brawler, this is a mini Frank with, you know, some extra range on it. It's something that could be healed as well. I just think Jesse is in such a strong spot. They pick Pam and then Jesse immediately into it from the other side, which is honestly, I think, a pretty fair matchup for somebody like Jesse, who I believe to be honestly that one of her strongest maps in the game right now. I just feel like Octopus Primes kept it simple that time. They got a nice draft going their way, and as a result, the Titans of this region, presumably in Crazy Raccoon, are now tied up with somebody from, you know, SEA who didn't quite make Worlds last year.
Let me remind everybody, but these two teams played in the monthly qualifiers, and it was a wash, a 2-0 win for Crazy Raccoon. But Octopus Primes, they've been cooking. They've been in the lab, and they've come out with something pretty good, compositionally at least, on Dueling Beetles. But now we're going to move on. Bridge Too Far coming up here. Another map that these two teams played on. It was not close, again, in those monthly qualifiers here. So that's something that our Octopus Primes are going to have to overcome.
This is a map, too, where I immediately think more of the sharpshooter, you know, kind of representation. And Crazy Raccoon are going to hit shots. We saw it in that set number 1 on Knockout. If we give them a Piper, a Nani, those kinds of brawlers, it's going to be really tough. I mean, these guys are the best in the business. So this is one that I'm a little worried for Octopus Primes. I think they're going to have to play their cards right, maybe get a good draft going. And this might be one of those where they're forced to kind of get in the lab, like you said, and cook a little bit. And sometimes the experiment's going to work out. Sometimes it's not. So I'm curious to see what kind of direction they go here in our ban and pick stage.
Excuse me. Pit Stop is actually the map here. I want to note also that we see Barley and Sprout both banned, like longer range throwers here. They might be trying to angle for a dynamite pick here. Obviously very powerful, albeit shorter range brawler. And Rico's a very popular pick on this map.
I was going to say, given the ban stage here, it makes a lot more sense that we're getting something like Pit Stop. Edgar going to actually show up very well here. I think into squishier brawlers, it can go really well. This is an interesting kind of strategy from Crazy Raccoon. I would say outside of Edgar, this is not necessarily a Pit Stop or heist kind of pick. This is directly to counter the BB on the other end. They have Cordelius, who's going to be one of the best out there in terms of countering those tanks. A shotgun brawler like Shelly is going to eradicate somebody like BB. I feel like do pretty solid to somebody like Bonnie, too, who can't get a quick kill, especially when in the cannon form. But Rico can be a real threat here. Edgar, though, going to counter him in an individual matchup. So I feel like on paper, a lot of one-on-one interactions should go Crazy Raccoon's way.
So better draft theoretically here for Crazy Raccoon. I did like Cordelius also, like, and just taking someone out of the fight, especially if like the Bonnie's all inning, you just hit them with super, pull them into the Shadow Realm and make it impossible for them to damage your turret. Also, go into the Shadow Realm and walk across the map, pop out in front of the enemy safe and go to town. But Moya getting punished here with that short range. Vex even gets a couple swings at the safe, and Shitapo blown to smithereens on the right. This is dangerous.
They've done a great job of focusing Sutampo, who's somebody who's going to be able to get to the other end easiest, and now as a result, Octopus Primes are going to be in positioning. They're just going to send Edgar again, though. They're going to be relentless with that, but on the other end, Troy landing. Moya going to be trading out as well. A misconnection there, so Vex still going to be a nuisance here in the bushes. It's been a little bit of a back and forth right now in terms of a base race at the top of our screen here. Sutampo going to be keeping it up on that high safe, and now they're going to have to deal with CR in position.
Yeah, that's our quarterfinal 3 at the bottom. If you wanted to know how that was going along, Moya dangerous. Tanya, Troya rather picks him off. Beautiful stuff. Chitapo's going to be there, though, as Troya emerges from the shadows. Vex getting a lot of free damage here, and Crazy Raccoon are a little behind. Eventually, the Interloper BB is brought down. You can see that Chitapo had to commit to the safe, give up his life, and still find Crazy Raccoon behind on percentage.
Moya with a hypercharge in his back pocket, though. The ultimate removal of a hypercharge for somebody like BB on the other end, but this time going to use it for Rico. Gets the... Here we go. Now a second one being popped. Each in going at it here. It's a race on all fronts right now with a slight lead to Crazy Raccoon. The defense successful, and more importantly, the offense for Crazy Raccoon prevails. It's going to be a game victory for the blue side. I
mean, at some point, you just take your Redka, smash your hypercharge, and dive on in. Get that pressure down on the safe. It's pretty scary. Again, your reload speed increases after, you know, you use your super with hypercharge. So you just go to town on that safe, and we saw it went from about 28% to 0 in seconds.
They were able to delete that save so quickly. But once again, we're going to see Sutampo charge up that super real quickly. This time, going to be using it to defend against Troya, which I actually really like that decision. Now it's a 3v1, whereas before you could have gotten a trade, maybe a few percentages on that high safe, but probably wouldn't have been worth it. So I think that was a very good heads-up play there from them. Moya, though, the biggest battle he's going to be faced is using his range, getting up close to the enemies and trying to charge that super. But once he's getting it cycled, like you just saw there at the bottom of your screen, he's going to be a real threat. And Sutampo, a major one as well. Tens was really struggling. Free damage with that.
I mean, Yatema can't do anything about this. Look at everything being used, the gadget even being popped as well. Moya, I think it was a gadget used there on the safe there, a little bit extra deep, so I feel that. Now Crazy Raccoon are in a very, very strong position. That hypercharge is available on the Edgar. We might be starting to cycle some of these supers.
Yeah, that hypercharge is going to be a real indicator. This could be all but over. Dives in, gets the first, looking for a second grab. Somehow they still haven't taken him down yet either. He's just punching away on this heist.
He's auto-aiming the safe.
Down. He's still alive too, has another super in hand, going to dive in. Bonnie looking
okay.
Barely gets the last punch off. What a showing there from Edgar.
That was scary stuff. Hard landing is a star power. Interesting.
Yeah, I noticed that. Interesting call. Not sure how to feel about that one, but it worked out. So wins.
I guess you want more damage on the super drop. I'm not really sure. Either way, normally fisticuffs is the go-to star power there. But hey, look, we won't take anything away from the way that draft played out, the way the brawlers were selected, because again, that all-in potential is absolutely terrifying. I like the defensive applications on Cordelius on this map, and you saw it multiple times. Moya just takes an aggressor, someone who's trying to all-in the safe, out of the fight entirely.
I felt like Crazy Raccoon really did just have one brawler that they drafted, Edgar, of course, in particular, to be the guy that's going to dive onto the heist safe at all costs. A constant pressure being applied from him. And on the other end, Moya and Shelly are the ultimate defense. Shelly's going to be a direct counter into somebody like BB, who's not going to be able to deal with that shotgun brawler very well. Cordelius is able to remove whatever piece from the map that he wants. He dictates how this game plays out. So I think they all had very specific roles, and it was a lot to handle for Octopus Primes. Again, Bonnie's somebody a little newer to the meta. I don't think she's really proven herself. The data and the qualifiers showed that she didn't necessarily. So unless something changes here, I think this may be the way, or maybe a brawler that they have to avoid. It just hasn't worked out so far today.
You can see here Eshitapo with so much agency when that super is available. And then we saw this. We are just auto aiming at that safe there, getting a bunch of free damage. Tenma Moya just sidesteps that super quite comfortably here. Gadget shot onto the safe. It's already down to 38%. Shitapo here at this point says, okay, let's do that again. Dive in one more time, get the job done. Very straightforward stuff here for Crazy Raccoon, but a very solid showing. As we want to see on these heist maps here, they knew exactly what the game plan was. They had all-in potential, but like you pointed out, they also had contingency with defensive brawlers to make it hard for BB to step forward.
I think that was a big step up compared to the draft that we saw in set number 2 from them too. And, you know, that's part of it. If you have a better draft, you're usually winning. Obviously, mechanics are huge, but I do feel like compared to that set number 2, that was more of what I'm used to seeing from some Pro Brawl Stars players like these guys. Some brilliant players, some great minds. They put together, they take care of business, and now we're going to be buckling up for a set number 4 where Octopus Primes are really going to have to do something special here. This is Shooting Star. This is more along the lines of what I was saying before. This is a long-range map where the Pipers, the Nannies, the sharpshooters of the world have a heyday. And if there's some players on one side that I would be more fearful of over anybody in the world, it is possibly Crazy Raccoon with those brawlers in hand.
Yeah, and you know, their opponents might pick Bonnie again for God knows what reason and put themselves in a bit of a tough spot here. Here come the picks. Bell locked away first, of course. This, man, really potent to set up nest egg around the map. Obviously Punish grouping up, and man, if there's any tanky brawlers getting picked into this, your mark is extremely potent.
Bell, a very safe one off the rip, and of course adding a hypercharge to her kit more recently. I think Angelo for me is somebody that we're going to have to see banned on this map pretty much every time. In a pro player's hands where he can one-shot a ton of brawlers, he's speedy, he's quick, he's lethal. There's a lot of great things for Angelo, not to mention he can heal himself as well. It's the ultimate pro player brawler, so I think having that removed is a huge deal, especially considering Octopus Primes didn't have that first overall selection. They removed the Piper as well, so there are going to be some good picks still available to them though. Sprout, an interesting one that gets banned here. I have actually seen a lot of Sprout and Byron be a combination for practices in this region as well. But Nani's still on the board here, so that's one that I'm definitely looking forward to see if they draft that.
Yeah, more favored against Piper now, as we've discussed already after that nerf. And people also very powerful in securing those kills or even forcing positioning from you know, a team that might be ahead on stars or might be wanting to try and maintain them for a little time. So, I mean, yeah, again, Piper, Nanny, Larry and Laurie also taken away because, yeah, it's very good.
They exist.
But yeah, we see a lot of Bell on this map. Brock also is definitely a brawler to go for. And I think, yeah, Nani's the best, right? In terms of that pick and win rate, you can't go past that brawler.
I think it's hard to top, especially the combination of Nani into Piper specifically, who's in a great spot in the meta right now, too. I think those are kind of the top dogs right now. Angelo, Piper, Nani, the sharpshooters that come to mind first. Bell going to be a really solid option as well, as we saw drafted there. There are some assassin-type brawlers like Leon that I like to see get in the mix here as well. And one that I'm just going to throw out into the universe in case it happens. Gus has shown up here quite a bit in APAC practices. Again, may be different on game day here, but we'll see what happens. Speaking of the homework paid off, and we see a squeak. That one, have no idea, but Morris on the other end really excites me.
I mean, look, Residue's very powerful. To be able to slow people down, Kuki Popper combines it actually, pretty well with that. Allows you to chain multiple Gus hits and get that extra bit of burst damage. And already, look at this, Tensai, man, so aggressive. The open lane on the right, he's already put 2 nest eggs down.
This is going to be strong positioning for them. Now they're going to be able to taps and ooh, a tough one there. And the slowdown as well with a combination from Moya. Going to make it harder for Vex to step. Looks like the strategy that they're going for is 2 assassin brawlers in Mortis and Leon. They're going to combine this with Byron, which just seems to be something that they really like. And it's not going to work out there. He hits the trap immediately that Tensai had already placed down. Of course, in combination with several hit shots. It's going to be an easy 4-1 lead so far. Optimus Primes really haven't been able to leave their spawn yet.
Defensively as well, this Chitampo super... Was that supposed to go to Moya? Maybe. Chitampo gets the Gus super shield though. Moya looks at him like, was that for me or no? Okay, let's carry on.
We'll survive either way, of course, so no harm, no foul. We got a couple spooky boys on the left-hand end, too, that are going to be a real threat as well. I feel like Vex just hasn't been able to pop off. This is a combination of Octopus Primes that is a boom or bust kind of play, and right now we have yet to see a boom, but here's the first signs of opportunity. The shield for Gus, though,
so
keeping him alive. Tensai with the follow-through shots. Mortis hadn't been able to do a thing.
Yeah, I mean, Troya as well. All of those lollipop drops getting blown up because obviously the Leon has to play within that range to be invisible, and Tensai's shots bounce. Hypercharge got used there. Vex again having a crack at it. Moya just alive, and for assurance, Chitampo throws that shield. Maybe a little prematurely here. There was no pressure headed in the Squeak's direction. Might wish he had the one back. Here comes Vex again once more. Super available. They're going to dive here. There's nowhere you to go if you're Moya. Vex now putting the pressure down. Tenma does get a super, but the Residue's going to slow him up and make it too hard for him to assist Vex. Nice showing here from Crazy Raccoon. Another very robust draft, very defensive, very good at dealing with this Leon and Mortis dive.
Had to hold my breath there for a second, though. They nearly made the composition pay off for those big swing kind of moments there. That's what they have to rely on. It's not a composition that's going to be able to consistently keep that lead. It's something that is going to rely on the last 15 seconds and to come out of an interaction with a win here. Vex, though, right off the rip, getting aggressive here. Looking for what? Ultimately just feeds a blue star. That one definitely not working out for the red side.
Yeah, you gotta wish you had that one back. I wonder how much ping Vex is playing. It can be very hard, right? Like, especially against these defensive brawlers to try and get the jump on people. You can't hide in any bushes because Moya's constantly checking those with those Squeak shots. So Vex has to play in the open behind walls. I hope there's a chance to dive, but he has no other way of doing that, I guess, unless he has Coiling Snake, which is fine. But there's no, like, Max here to speed you up. There's no Grey to teleport you into your opponent's faces here. You've kind of just got 2 legs and a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's really about relying on dodging the enemy team's shots or just popping off there. Ooh, so close. But
Chitampo shielded himself again. What a troll. Jeff,
hey,
the man, the shield.
Gonna work for it. Just making his teammates work for it a little bit. Trying to make sure they prove themselves, and I think they're doing plenty of proving themselves right now. Still gonna be holding on to that 1-star lead. But yeah, I mean, just making sure you gotta protect yourself before you help others out.
Blood is trolling. He's trolling. Tensai also lost those nest eggs, so Vex dives through those, clears them up, and is still able to get rid of the bell. Despite that positive feedback shield on Tensai, constantly keeping him sort of, quite durable. He does get brought down. Vex is in trouble, though. Even if you heal up, you're not getting rid of that mark, and Tensai just gets it over and done with.
Yeah, and as a Gus, too, I mean, he's getting a little aggressive onto somebody like Leon, who's finally got a super available, and they're going to have to convert with that super, too. Going sneaky here, going to be scouting out, does have that super again. We'll see if he lets it go for a teammate or just keeps him for himself here. With
no troll.
Vex is going to have to make a move. He may very well troll, but more importantly, he's going to be looking here. He does go for it for himself. This time it actually pays off, though. Damage amplified. Dangerous. Back and forth right now. 1 up per piece, and it's going to go Crazy Raccoon's way with 1-star lead.
Really clutch their Tensai under a lot of pressure. Pops out a hypercharged super, guarantees the connection on that mark, and then is able to tap it once or twice to finish the kill to keep Crazy Raccoon ahead by one or so star. It's pretty scary going up against that assassin composition. If you give up ground, like we often see happen by teams that are winning in Bounty, you really leave yourself open to get dove on like that. The Mortis is still a scary prospect, especially with the sustainability that having his super online can give him. You can't burst him down instantly if he can hit you with that ability. But there it is. It is a 3-2-1 as Crazy Raccoon dispatch our Octopus Primes.
I will say, as crazy and out there as that draft was, I feel like Octopus Primes played it about as good as you could. I feel like CR were kind of equipped to deal with that. They had the Gust Bubble, the Damage Amplifier. They were ready to handle some Assassins, despite on paper Mortis having some great one-on-one matchups. But they really did bring it down to the wire in 2 straight games. I believe losing by 4 in this first one here. And in the second game, literally 1 star making all the difference of back and forth. As you see Vex dive in here. Came down to about 5 seconds. Vex, not enough HP in the tank to quite get this done. And of course, Satampo respawning there, having plenty of HP with his teammates. It wasn't quite going to happen there. But in game number 2, they definitely kept it close. A lot of respect. I think this is a team that can hold their head up high, considering how decorated of a team Crazy Raccoon is.
Yeah, they super outdrafted him in that second set, I think. That one is pretty straightforward. So we do have the same old Crazy Raccoon, incredibly talented individuals, just amazing brawl players. But sometimes they slurp the silly sauce when it comes to the drafts, and it can bite them.
It happens for sure, and again, maybe it's just that map. Every team's kind of got their kryptonite at times, but I am really impressed with what Octopus Primes did. I do think Crazy Raccoon meet an expectation, though. I mean, 3-1, it was a strong showing. I didn't feel like they were making tons of mistakes. We even had Satampo having some fun and giving himself a bubble all the time. I think these guys are in a smooth sailing right now. Again, I feel like they're going to be extra motivated this year, especially considering how things ended last year. So I'd be surprised if any team took them out this month, but you never know. At least some signs of life coming in from Octopus Primes.
And there you have it, Crazy Raccoon with the win here. Event.brawlstars.com. That's where you can get your picks submitted and get yourself some tasty star drops for your account. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, more from your Brawl Stars Championship Monthly Finals, powered by, of course, the Snapdragon Pro Series. We'll see you after this.
The Snapdragon Pro Series Brawl Stars Championship, powered by Samsung Galaxy, is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, Monster Energy, and DHL.
Mike likes soda.
My headshot.
This is the time. The time when dreams come true and legends are born. Oh my word! This is the place.
Some seriously spicy stuff. An absolute masterclass!
The place where teams from across the globe come to battle it out for their shot at glory.
Oh, you're kidding!
And a piece of up to $2 million in...
Does build that super a little bit easier.
Oh, you're kidding!
And a piece of up to $2 million in...
Does build that super a little bit easier.
Oh, you're kidding!
And a piece of up to $2 million in...
Does build that super a little bit
the game.
Immediately taken down.
Still not going to fall. He refuses to die.
The game you love. This is the Brawl Stars Championship. Let's get ready to brawl.
Welcome back, folks, to the Brawl Stars Championship powered by the Snapdragon Pro Series. We are back, and we have most of our quarterfinals out of the way. If you've been watching the big stream, you know they're still wrapping up on them, but we are going to move on to our first semi-final. Ready, set, good to have you with us here. Both of you guys, both you and Kenny, we'll hear from you here. Angelic, you managed to see Angelic claim victory here over Hao in a 3-2. It was a double match point scenario.
Yeah, it was really, really close there. We saw Hao start to come back. They clawed their way to a 2-2 scoreline, and then Angelic managed to win it in knockout in set number 5. I think, honestly, it was a pretty rough set overall for both of the teams, though. It was a pretty close nail-biter there in the final moments. But yes, it was one of those knockout moments where it came down to the final round.
Kenny, that said, you know, looking back now and maybe sort of seeing what Revenant were able to show us in their quarterfinals, they did not show a lot of weakness at all. They looked quite comfortable. They didn't even have a silly draft really like Crazy Raccoon. They managed to get themselves out of that horrendous, you know, setup where they had the Shelly and they had to break the walls down on knockout. That was drawn out, but they figured it out. A tough situation to get out of.
Yeah, a clean sweep of 3-0. Can't complain. I mean, Revenant Esports did nothing wrong. We'll see if they're a little more challenged by somebody like Angelic here, if there's any difference, or if we get the same result. I still think Revenant Esports are going to be a favorite here, considering what they did in the quarterfinals, considering what the players on this roster have done historically on their various teams. And I think that's a big reason why every single one of us are going to pick them.
Absolutely dominated, gentlemen. Obviously, Angelic, my pick, based on absolutely nothing whatsoever outside of I preferred their names here. Now, we don't know what our S1 versus Never Back Down matchup is going to look like. That is still playing out right now. NVD with the lead here. What are your thoughts, gents? How does it feel being down there?
You sound exactly like the people in my March Madness bracket, man. I just like the name. That's exactly what you sound like right now, and it's still just as frustrating.
You know what? I don't like basketball. This is my March Madness, all right? This is my chance to lord it over you guys, you know? That stuff's cool. I've seen their brackets. They look like spider's webs. Ours, way more streamlined. It's just 8 teams. They've got cool logos. Their names make no sense, or they're just quotes from very well-known streamers, or it's Crazy Raccoon. I mean, what's there not to like about that? Like, what's Duke? What's Purdue? Like, these words don't even mean anything, bro. This is the real March Madness, boys. Okay, I mean, Reddy, I'm sure you agree with this, right? I mean, come on.
I mean, you got a team named Never Back Down and, of course, Never What is the logical following question. And we're still watching them play. The current score is 1-1, I should add. We did see a victory with Miko and Hot Zone, which might make us question what we saw in that match where Tensai picked up the Miko and Hot Zone too.
And he fed. He entered. He absolutely fed himself up piece by piece, but that was a map where he played into a composition that was really good at dealing with him. I know people watching this seeing just how effective like the Byron is against that, for example, going, wow, I have some options now if I sort of run into that. You know, there are such small windows to damage Miko while he's jumping at you, right? And sort of the mind games that work around sort of exploiting those brief openings are very challenging. But again, being able to super yourself and you know, come out of that one pretty cleanly feels pretty good. Well, I don't know if we'll see that come up very much in this next game is Revenant Esports with their eyes set firmly on their first grand final showing here in the Brawl Stars Championship for APAC. It's Kenji, it's Sergeant Clash, it's Menmi. And somebody give me a reason why they shouldn't be in this grand final.
I can't give you one Uber, I'll be honest. These guys should be the favorites. Sargent is the one constant with this organization. He's somebody that popped off last year. I thought he was one of the most fun players to watch across LCQ, across Worlds. He's just somebody that always stands out. And of course, Kenji, a very renowned player. Menmi with a great history. Somebody who's on Reject in 2023, which is a phenomenal roster. These guys are some heavy hitters, man. And the other side's going to have a lot cut out for them.
I mean, we've seen a bit of Angelic. They're scrappy. They fight hard, right? But this is a different beast to the challenge that they had to face. It's Kanga, Missy, and Megu. Ready, set. This isn't even a team, Revenant, that you can bait into like bad drafts. You have to hope to draft well yourself, and I think these players are on a level of ability that will allow them to, you know, to prevail, I think, if they can really get that right. But let's have a look back at what we've seen so far. This draft was very, very good for Crazy Raccoon. This was how an Angelic in those final moments. Pretty tight gameplay here.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I really did like the draft for How here as well. You can see they come out on top to manage to win this set. In the next set, also, it was pretty tough. This draft right here for How is a one draft for me. I think the Larry from Angelic is a nice idea. Gus, he's really left behind in the meta, and I just don't think Bray really gets it done versus this comp. I mean, probably only really going to be able to pull Meg. She's the only one that gets in range, and she's such a high health target. I mean, what are you really pulling here? This is one that I want to talk about mostly. Here's Knockout, and I think we saw pretty good drafts from both sides. It was really just a skill diff, I think, for Angelic, and I saw one misplay for Killer 34 where he had some hatchlings to throw down, put them on the jump pad, and it exploded midair. And folks, when that explodes midair, it doesn't deploy any hatchlings. And versus single target brawlers like these, that is a win condition.
Able to, yeah, again, get those hatchlings out of the way, kind of limit that Charlie's effectiveness there, but you can see Angelic able to close things out there right at the end of the round. And so they're warmed up. They're ready to go. They're going to go up against their toughest challenge so far. Meki here looks cool, calm, collected. Fantastic embroidery in the background, even including a spike there. Really love how Megu set the scene in the camera background. And now they've set the stage for, again, yet another underdog clash.
Big underdog for sure, but he's got Spike watching over him, right? I think at least if you have anything, you got a little bit of Spike luck. I am impressed with some of those highlights, though. I wish we could have seen, honestly, more of that match considering how close it was, but Angelic looked like they skate through all right. I was kind of surprised with some of those drafts, too, that you mentioned, Reddy. We saw some Larry Laurie slide through. We saw Nani go through, so some more picks that would normally be bans going through, so I'm curious to see how that gets implemented here against a team like Revenant. I mean, you got to be on top of your game for the draft.
Yeah, I just really hope these don't slip through. Revenant are entirely going to capitalize on brawlers that make it through the draft, and even when the draft looks pretty stacky against them, it's like I said earlier, they're able to think laterally, think outside of the box, think outside what is the tier list right now in the meta, and picks up something good like Shelly for a last pick that enables their win versus a troll comp.
All right, gents. This is where I leave you two. You have the keys to the Rolls Royce here, so Kenny, take it away. Don't dent it!
Oh, no promises, no promises. We'll do our best, but we definitely guarantee a lot of fun in the Rolls Royce. Hopping in here to a very fun map as well, Ready. Minecart Madness. We got a little taste of this earlier. And for the players, this one's stressful, not gonna lie. But for the fans, it's a perfect blend of chaos and just another added agent here with that minecart traversing around the map. 94% of the folks at home, though, at event.brawlstars.com did end up picking Revenant. I'm honestly not surprised. This is another one where it's a known org, known players going against a team in Angelic that less familiarity of the players, less proven. So I think it makes sense, but hoping Angelic can put up a good fight here.
Oh, no doubt. I would love to see Angelic put up a good fight. Something we actually didn't get to touch on is that Angelic is an all Hong Kong roster, so they live on top of the server. What are they going to be picking here? Well, they do have last pick, so maybe they pick something more aggressive. They've already picked up the Byron to enable something of the sort if they want to, if Revenant Esports can't get some good tank counters on their side. I'll point out a brawler that I don't usually see in this region, but can be great on Minecart Madness for exactly what you mentioned earlier. There's so much going on here. Bo, when you put down the mines, yeah, exactly. You have the mines down, you have the mine cart to deal with as well. People just forget the mines are there. It's too much to keep in your working memory.
That's exactly, honestly, the thing that I wrote down when I was watching some practices for this map. It makes some much sense, even at a pro level. Minecart Madness, Mines with Bow, it just makes sense, right? Like you said, it's a lot to keep track of. You're juggling professional players on the other end, picking up mines, a minecart moving, and it's just one more added thing to keep in the back of your brain. So I don't blame anybody for really going in. I actually think Bow's in a very solid spot in the game right now too, a very underrated one. He feels like, to me, he's not necessarily like a top 10 brawler if you want a tier list kind of feel for him, but he feels like he's resting in that 15 to 20 state. Definitely one of the better brawlers, and I think on this map makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and the other thing is this guy's going to deal 3,000 damage in a single shot if he can land all 3 of those arrows, so he turns out a lot of damage versus a longer range mid. Might be a little bit more difficult, but I've spoken to some players, at least in North America, who say, yeah, actually we would favor Bow over something like Bell on Minecart Madness, so that's something to keep in mind. Another thing apparently that can deal with Bow is a brawler like Max. You get that speed on your teammate and you're able to juke those shots more effectively. If you're even able to only have 1 of those bow arrows land on you, that's 1,000 damage compared to 3,000, so a little 66% reduction there if you want to push a tank up to the enemy side.
Well, seeing how this draft turns out, really interesting stuff. We're going to see Mortis on the other end. That's the first one that I noticed. I'm assuming that's what your reaction was. And immediately, Kenga going to dive in here. Kenji, with so much HP, is going to take care of that, though. But another Byron Assassin combination. This seems to be something very normalized for this region. However, I will add, whenever Ruffs was played in monthly qualifiers globally here, had a 67% win rate. That's pretty monstrous and some great results.
Very, very interesting. I think another thing that's valuable for Kenga is that Kenji is pretty helpless in close range. Love the Amber into Bonnie as well, except for when this happens. Kenji directly deployed on top, but it is only a trade. Nice swipe there for Minmi. And all these gems so far belong to Revenant Esports. Megu just doesn't have the sustain from consistent lanes just yet, which is usually what Amber would offer. But if you're constantly getting jumped on by Kenji, who only needs 3 shots, as long as he's, of course, equipping his supercharge gear to get a super, then he's looking fine. Nice wall break as well to keep Kenga from camping them at their own spawn. Revenant Esports, wow, what a start for them.
Strong start, now being pushed back by the Minecart, the ensuing brawlers along with it, and I feel like they're pretty well equipped to deal with Meg. Kenga just cycling in supers, and unless Menmi just swipes a perfect shot, he's gonna be able to rotate in and out, and I think knows this, avoids this, instead isolates the other 2 brawlers and gets some major pickups. Angelic with a real chance here to make a comeback. I think the Rocket Rain coming in from Sargent definitely going to help them push away, and a Minecart once again going the other way. This may be the opportunity for Angelic to take a stand here.
Kenji may need to jump in. He's forced to, completely misses Mizzy. It's a free kill for Kenga. And the 3v2 ensues. Minmi, not defenseless. He did have a swipe. It enabled the kill onto Kenga. Minecart's headed towards Angelic's side now. Mizzy's going to offer himself as almost a sacrifice. But Minmi and Kenji are too far out of range to really deal with him. Kenga's taking quite a bit of damage. Megu's keeping him alive. Nice use of the super for Sargent, but it's short-lived. The Scooby Snack still on the ground over here for Minmi. And Kenga almost gets the kill. Nice clutch use of the super for Minmi. Angelic have to contend mid still, because Revenant Esports can tie the countdown.
Perfect timing from Menmi there. That was just a fraction away from spilling every gem and being in a terrible spot. They're actually going to press the issue here now. An 11th gem is spawned. They're going to be diving in. I think not at the most opportune time. Kenga and the teammates able to clean things up here, and a win for Mortis on the board. Okay, let's do this.
Guy's dashingly handsome, slicing and dicing. It's like not something that I wanted to say because it's so typical. Like, oh, they live on top of the server. Maybe they'll pick Mortis, but no, they did. And folks, it worked.
It worked, and honestly, on paper, I feel like it looks really good, right? I think Mortis can handle Meg pretty well, all things considered, for cycling and supers. Let's look at this interaction here, for example. Took 3 brawlers to take him down, and of course, they're going to be running a super that's going to kind of explode, push Mortis back. I think that's good ways to kind of deal with it, but Mortis is definitely somebody that they have to be focused on this whole time. His main mission, to be a distraction, to be lethal, to be a top frag, and that's exactly what he does there, as Kenji is now forced to dive in and is unsuccessful at that as well. It may have cost Mortis a trip to the graveyard, but it is a big pickup here in gyms for Angelic.
He just keeps up the constant aggression. That was a great use of the gadget by Sargent. It disrupted Kenga's push in, but you can't stop this guy. He keeps on going. He's gonna swipe up yet another kill versus Minmi. Holding the 2 gems is suboptimal for him, but it's okay if Revenant Esports get a couple of gems here. Angelic only need 3 more for them to get the win. Aggressive jump in from Bonnie. And Kanga's just camping spawn. Doesn't even care. He's just spawn camping.
Just landing every super, swiping away at the enemies. Finally, Kenji gonna be able to apply a little bit of pressure here, but now reinforcements coming in from Kanga. No, he's ready to dive in already, though. A super going down. Memmi low HP, forced to bounce away. The super, the only thing keeping Memmi alive. Excuse me, the star power keeping Memmi alive. But nonetheless, they're still able to hold on to this mid for now. Minecart disrupting things a little bit. Plenty of heals to go around. A big pickup there, too. Sergeant with one super, the only thing keeping him up, but now nothing keeping Revenant Esports up. They have lost a gym, and AGC able to slowly back this one away.
King is out of gadgets, but he just needs to keep this going. Chaining 1, 2 supers. Memmi barely still in his mech. 5 seconds left. Megu's the guy to kill. Memmi tries to push in, and there's the countdown interruption. But they're all safely on Mizzy now. It's going to take a full team push in from Revenant Esports to get this one. Firstly, they're blocked by the minecart. Kanga also swiping up a kill. It's a 2v3. And Kanga's still lurking on the back lines. The ideal target, Mizzy, all the way in the back. It's a GG and a set win for Angelic.
Well, we better hold our breath, Brody. That was unbelievable. I mean, Mortis went crazy. That is one of the best performances from Mortis that I think I've seen in a long time. Servers or not, I don't know what it is. It worked out really well on paper. The player played it just right. I mean, there's nothing to complain about there. And not to mention, too, Revenant are heavy favorites here. We saw the stats. 96% of us, including all three of us in the casting desk, pick Revenant to win this one. So the fact that they can come out with a 2-0 lead, huge for Angelic.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, what a way to start up the momentum of your match. But on top of that, you know, okay, whatever, server aside, let's talk draft. I really like the Mortis into Bonnie. I think Bonnie, in theory, should have been able to get some kills onto Amber, but then at the same time, you're just dive bombing into the enemy team. You're just asking to be killed by Byron or defended. We saw some attempts, actually, from Amber to set Bonnie on fire that usually came out unsuccessful. It's a difficult tech to pull off. You got to get the timing just right. Really, this came down to Kanga and Megu constantly healing him. We see also him going in for an assist, getting Memmi pretty low, but ultimately it came down to the unstoppable aggression from Kanga, using the gadgets, making sure that he's in that enemy spawn consistently. Kenji not able to offer the DPS that he needed, and you saw he didn't really jump in that many times either. And that's sort of the entire buff that happened to Bonnie, is that she gets her super in 3 shots now, and it didn't do them any favors.
I feel like it's hard to jump in though, right? Even with the buff and all of that, you've got Byron with the heals, Mortis rocking and ready at any given moment, Amber there for the high DPS. I just feel like it would have been a really hard move to make. And this is just kind of another instance where I feel like Bonnie's been a little underwhelming. I feel like the opinions from the pro scenes, at least from ones I've talked to, particularly in North America, kind of vary on this brawler. And I think that's kind of the result we're seeing here today as well. I feel like these enemy teams have been able to draft and be comparable into somebody like that. So despite the buff that she's getting, haven't necessarily seen the results alongside it that I would like to.
Well, maybe we'll see Revenant reconsider in future sets whether the Bonnie is really the math. I don't think we've seen it work too well so far. I think we're 0 for 2 on the Bonnie picks, but I can at least... Bonnie is really the math. I don't think we've seen it work too well on the so scrims far that they decide to conceal until game day, and then oh wait, it turns out that we were just running on a very low data set. It just worked those couple of times that we played it. With all that said, the Mortis was an excellent pick into this. He's historically a great brawler on Minecart Madness, able to use the terrain, and also there's just so much going on there. Now you have a Mortis that's dashing towards you constantly. It's pretty rough.
I think one of the things that we underestimate and maybe undersell a little bit too, these balance changes are very recent. Pro players are juggling constant changes to the metas in their respective regions and across the world. There are a lot of brawlers worldwide, the ones like Angelo, Larry, Leon. There's a lot of them that are going to be mainstays across the world. But there's a lot of pro players that come up with great tech in such a short period of time. These balance changes, roughly a week old, if that. And I think to adjust to that, to adapt to that, it's a really hard task to ask. So we definitely make it seem easier than it is. It's nice for us. We can just sit in the chair and just criticize, but at the end of the day, it is a tough task for them. So still figuring that out, still getting adjusted to all the many kinds of brawler changes that are very important at this level. There's no room for error.
Well, it's time for Bell's Rock for a bit of knockout action, and something seems to be missing from this map this year. I wonder if some people had some insight, maybe some contributions to changing this map. You'll notice that one of those fences is missing on both sides, and that there's no more water behind it, preventing you from breaking the wall to get across it. So you have a nice entry into mid, no more jail, no one gets tortured inside the bush prison anymore. You're able to actually walk up mid.
I think it was a great change as well. I think it allows for a more aggressive approach, which is something I think we should be promoted in Knockout. As we saw earlier, it wasn't necessarily the most aggressive knockout set that we've ever seen in the very first one of the day, and I think anytime you can promote a little bit of attack, it's a good thing. And for the 6% of folks at home that ended up picking Angelic, I'm not one of you, but I respect the heck out of you. You're just smiling really big right now, hoping you hit the Dark Horse Candidate of the Month. It just might be that. Long way to go, though. Revenant on map number 2. Going to be looking to turn things around. And in scrims, again, it's just practices. This is game day. Things are different. Bonnie, one of the brawlers I've seen the most in this region here, though.
Well, so far we do have some picks coming in. As far as bans, we see Bonnie, Mortis, and Miko eliminated, and as well as Angelo, Piper, and Jean gotten rid of. So all pretty good brawlers here. It's interesting to see that Bonnie has been eliminated. Honestly, she's historically a pretty good knockout brawler. It's not super bad if you end a round outside of your cannon because, I mean, you get it back for free at the start of the next round. So just getting that for free, and then free being 3 shots, which is not super difficult to pull off, and then being able to dive bomb a target is a great way to get a kill.
Yep, and another map where Angelo has, of course, been banned here. Looks like our red side elected to do so. I think very intelligently. Again, it's something I'll say a few times during the broadcast and this weekend in general. Angelo is in such a strong spot for pro players. Absolutely lethal damage, very quick brawler, has a gadget that can essentially get you out of harm's way, similar to like a Piper jump away or anything like that. It's very helpful. Revenant clearly taking notes as well. They banned the Mortis. They know what they're getting themselves into. They are not dealing with that. They're just going to be trying to go for a safer approach. Picking somebody like Bell here on the other end. We're going to see Mandy come through, Leon as well. Interesting to see Mandy this early. I don't feel like we typically see Mandy be a first selection for a team, but I think it can definitely work. Interesting response here from Revenant, though, Reddy. We get the Buster.
Buster, I like. Buster Gray, I think, is a great combination as well. It's always the tank and the delivery mechanism. Dynamite into
These guys
the gray
love
here.
fun, Reddy. These guys love fun.
I like the Dynamite. Okay, I like the Dynamite, but into the gray, I think is pretty gutsy. Interesting strat there from Mimi. He does manage to pick up the kill on Mizzy in close range. It's down to a 3v2 with Angelic. Really, at the end of their rope. Kanga could get a super, but really, Revenant Esports, I think, look to leverage their health here towards the end of the round. Angelic are playing this one really patiently, maybe waiting for the right moment to Leon super out.
Yeah, Kanga just going to have to try and take advantage of these indestructible walls on the left. Ooh, barely off the mark there. Nearly a nasty pull coming in. Sergeant, though, threatening the squishy brawler on the left with 11,000 plus HP. Another walking cane miss, though, and an unusual step here for Kenji. The invisibility not going to pan out there either. So as this storm starts to close in, shots being fired for Kanga. Some nice blows. Actually, a stun as well. Sergeant getting tagged up as well. Dynamite 1v2. Let's see if he can make magic happen. Not quite this time, though. At the end of the day, the 3v2 prevails, and Revenant will take round number 1.
Saw something in that last round that just don't see very often. The gray star power getting some really, really good value. Kanga tried to deal a lot of damage to him, but he didn't manage to hit that Dynamite nuke with the entire power. Kenji took a lot less damage thanks to his star power. With that said, though, we see an early elim onto Leon. Angelic still look to keep these lanes at long range, but it's only short-lived. Kenji has the teleport in if he wants it. It's basically free kill onto Kanga. They just had to factor Mizzy out of the equation by damaging or just getting them to back up onto a different lane.
Once again, a tall task here for Angelic. 3v2 scenario. Ooh, make it 3v1. Nice little teleport there from Kenji. A Buster Shield to walk it up. A fancy little trick shot. A walking cane. Every shot connecting there. So Revenant Esports take game number 1.
And I mean, this pretty much sums up why I was so skeptical of the Dynamite into the gray because you can just get pulled through a wall. And that on top of the teleport, he's got no defense in close range. Mandy at least has defense in close range. Leon has defense on defense in close range. That's where he does the most damage. But the Dynamite last pick into gray, the eyebrow raise, it seems to be completely warranted. We see the early destruction of that turret. It also takes out a wall, a valuable one too for Kanga. They'll set up behind the indestructible and get some value off of that. But this is already 2 lollipop drops used for Megu.
I feel like that's something they're going to have to keep in mind in the future, too. They want those walls up for their Dynamite. Another walking Kane just barely off the mark. It's a tough one to hit. But now Kanga in prime position has to be careful about Sergeant bolstering a ton of health points alongside it. He's going to back up into the invisibility. Knows he can't take this one alone. He's going to need help from other brawlers as well, as Leon ideally is going to want to try and deal with Kenji here. I think that's a matchup in a one-on-one scenario that Leon can take. But for now, they're going to play it safe. They're going to let this one draw out a little bit and try and use those supers at the very last moment for some big kills.
Sergeant's got jukes on jukes, but he's slowly feeding another Dynamite super. Attempted shot there from Mizzy, but it's a miss. Sergeant pushes in, takes so much damage. Kevlar Vest kept him from being stunned, but he's still taken down. Kenji's a man on a mission, but it's just an impossible one. Megu still looking for that last bit of damage, maybe pinching in so that Mizzy can get a super. Menmi managed to deny 2 supers available for Angelic after they win round 1.
Nice plays here from Angelic. Of course, a good bounce back. They need to take a game here to keep themselves alive in this set. Gotta keep your foot on the gas pedal, especially when you're playing against a heavy favorite here. Some nice dodges coming in from Leon, though. A little back and forth as Kanga's gonna hug the more closed off side. Another misconnection there, though. Gotta take advantage of those supers, and unfortunately for Kanga, just doesn't get the job done there.
So when are we going to see Megu make a play? I feel like we haven't really seen much from Leon. He could pop a super. Here it comes, actually, looking for something on the Minmi. Sergeant has a 6th sense, though. He knows when there's an invis target nearby. Maybe taking a lot of damage, but the speed helps him juke some more shots from Kanga. Nice kill onto Megu. Now, Sergeant, easy one onto Kanga as he tried to slip away around the corner. It's Mizzy versus the world, and Sergeant can just throw up his shield and reflect it. We'll see Mandy conserve the super for the next round. Now, the thing that you would do on ladder is use this Mandy super immediately. Is he just sitting on it for a little bit longer? Yeah, this isn't going to work in pro play. It's not going to work when Sergeant's got that shield ready.
I'm glad you said that, because 100% my brain was like, fire, fire, fire. Fire the big super button. Fire the big super button. I 100% would have done that. That's what's going to make them much more intelligent and better players than me. I think some questionable decision-making there on that last one from Angelic, though. It looked like Kanga burned a hypercharge in a very tough situation. And another miss super there, too. I feel like Dynamite, especially considering how big of a pop-off player he is, needs to be hitting these shots, and nothing lining up right now. Revenant Esports just having a heyday right now. It's a lone Dynamite healing up, and now in a map that is wide open. Nowhere to hide anymore unless you're on this left or right-hand side. Sergeant with plenty of HP. Now just going to walk it forward. They're just going to play with their prey a little bit, take their sweet, precious time, and celebrate, as they're going to be able to get a tie here in just a... Well, no, okay. Let's hold our breath a little bit. Let's see what they can do. Maybe they toy a little too much. I don't know. Kanga with low HP here has to worry about the storm. I mean, just shut it down, fellas. Come on now. There it is. They were just playing with their food a little bit. I respect it, but at the end of the day, Revenant going to get the job done and tie things up. It's going to be 1-1 overall.
Gotta respect. I mean, farming KD there, not trying to get the kudos in a monthly final. So big one there for Dynamite. But yeah, I like this one a lot better for Revenant in every aspect. I like the draft better. I like the gameplay better. And I like the result better too. I mean, 2-0 says quite a bit. It's a total reversal of the momentum from set number 1. So now we're all even. We're guaranteed going to safe zone for set number 4 at some point. We'll have to set our sights on Excel in a moment, but I think we'll get to sort of roll back the tape, see what exactly worked for Revenant and what didn't work for AGC. I would like to see some of those hypercharge moments. I honestly don't hate the moment where we saw Dynamite pop his hypercharge to get away, because a hypercharge is always going to be the equivalent of a max speed. You get the same speed boost as you would from a max super. You get a little damage boost, okay, whatever. But escaping is valuable. Living is valuable. A hypercharge for Dyna is especially when all the shots are getting juked and the walls are broken down.
think you bring up a fair point, and sometimes you just got to go for the hero's play. I respect it. Maybe in replay I would change my mind a little bit, but I feel like a big contributor there too was a lot of missed supers from Dynamite. It felt like a lot of the time we were calling out the big boomstick didn't just connect. He couldn't make the big explosion happen. And I think when you're a Dynamite, you can't be affording to miss those heavy hitting shots, and that was just something that didn't work out. Megu, of course, going to get cleaned up a little bit there, and it just leaves Kanga in an impossible spot. Did get toyed around a little bit, made his nice play, but I think for me, the Buster was probably the biggest standout from Revenant's draft. I feel like Buster's somebody kind of flying under the radar right now that pro players are really going to be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, and of course the logical progression of this is, okay, now people start playing Buster, and now we actually get to see the Buster counters appear. Then maybe we'll finally get to see some Ashe in competitive again. Kind of the NA bro, NA comment from me, but you know, it's always going to be like that, folks. I'm always going to be NA biased. When it comes to more also prolific brawlers, we saw Kenji yet again on the Gray, catching people by surprise for so long. We see Mandy sitting on the super, maybe looking for an ideal target, but kind of just waiting for something to do with it and getting ganked by Gray as a result. He has a walking cane, he has the teleport in, he has plenty of counterplay for the enemy team, and I think they just didn't keep their distance, or they weren't able to spot those moments. Maybe the game sense was just a little bit lacking there.
For people looking to develop their own skills at home, I feel like Gray is such a good one to pick up and have in your toolkit. As somebody who traditionally, you know, with a single sharpshooter, it's a little bit tougher for brawlers like Piper, like Nani, to kind of handle those throwers. People like Dynamite, people like Larry and Lori, who are really popular. But if you have a TP, if you have a walking cane, you have very good mechanics to deal with those. So I feel like Gray is always going to be in a spot where, as long as he's not super underbalanced or a weak brawler, he's always going to be viable and relevant. And the best players with Gray can make such big moments happen. I feel like those were some of the things that we saw in that previous set, but something we weren't used to seeing last year already, because she was banned out so much. It's still taking me a sec, and even after all these nerfs, she's still going to be really relevant. It's going to be Charlie coming in as the #1 selection. On the other end, though, Penny, somebody we don't see too often.
Yeah, not at all. I can get it, you know. I feel like Angelic might want to think about bringing in some wall break here. That way they can avail themselves to taking care of that Penny turret. I love the pick of Leon. Looks like they're not going to be focused on breaking down any walls. The thing that they do have to deal with that, though, is Carl. He can play super aggro. Now he has 4 flying hooks, because why would you not run the gear that gives you an additional use of his most powerful ability ever? Essentially. I also like the pick of Charlie and Carl together, because I think that is, you know, just being wise about, okay, Charlie's weakness is stuff that takes care of her spiders in many ways. Rico making it all the way to the end of this draft is one that's pretty surprising to me, considering how strong he is at the moment. I think this is a prudent last pick from Revenant Esports. Just the use of his gadget, honestly, can get so much damage. He got a buff recently. Now each one of those projectiles deals 1,000 damage, and I see a lot of walls, and usually something that makes Rico good is walls.
That's some expert analysis, Ray. That's why we pay you the big bucks, brother. I do think, though, considering how many walls there are, and considering there's no wall break on the other end, Rico could have a heyday here. A well-placed Penny turret, basically a 4th brawler on the map. I actually think Kenji with this Penny pick, it can make a lot of sense. Penny, not the strongest brawler I would have in mind right now, but I actually think, considering this map, considering the matchup, and especially into those spiders like you see there, and if Kenji's tapping like that, Kanga's going to have a problem on his hands.
Kanga is basically setting up his own demise versus a Penny, though. Penny does so much damage on that piercing shot, and putting spiders in front of her is like serving her like a 5-course meal. It's just Kenji feasting anytime Kanga pops that gadget. I think maybe like a lane switch could be in order. Megu doesn't really have a good matchup over here, doesn't really have someone that he can push into conveniently with the flying hook. Sergeant's obviously just going to pop the gadget and get a ton of damage on him. So Angelic right now are just fighting for this blue star. It's a poke fest. Mimi has some aggro abilities. If they get greedy and they want to go for more, it honestly wouldn't be that greedy if they decide to play aggro, because it never hurts to have an even greater advantage than just 1 star.
You bring up a great point with the interaction with, even though Carl is somebody that traditionally is going to do well into a squishy matchup up close, because of Rico's gadget, he's going to be able to defend himself quite well. It does a ton of damage with that gadget, so you have to be really careful about that. Megu can't just go in recklessly. You got to be more calculated, at least have some backup alongside it if you're going to go up close like that. We're getting down to the final moments here. Approaching 30 seconds. Nobody really making any big-time plays yet. This might be the first signs of life. AGC are down 1 star, though. Don't make a connection. Megu going to be getting a shield to keep him up a little bit longer. Ooh, a beautiful dodge there. Somehow stays alive. 658, and of course the bubble keeping him up a little longer. And now Angelic with pretty decent positioning, all things considered, here for a final push.
Man's threading the needle, and Mizzy had to use that super to keep Megu alive, so they don't have it for the end of the game. This is on really low health. Kenji's all the way pushed back, but he hasn't taken a fraction of damage. This is easy for Kenji. He's baited the fire over to the left side. The kill on to Sergeant, and Kenga has to pop that hypercharge to get out of there. A missed super, but it doesn't even matter. They got that kill that they wanted, and that's a game win. This is why the aggro plays are totally warranted when you're in the lead. Like, yes, okay, it's cool if the enemy plays into your hand. They honestly could have used a penny turret there quite a bit earlier in the game, but this is why those moments matter, because when you allow yourself to be only 1 star in the lead, then only 1 kill completely wins the game for the enemy.
Not too often you see 1 kill in any game mode, in any circumstance, ever get you a win. But Angelic were able to take advantage of that. They waited till the final moments, and they made it count. Once again, Blue Star going Revenant Esports' way. But I'm wondering if they're considering changing from that passivity that we saw earlier. Kenji, like you mentioned, didn't get that penny turret established very early on in the game, which makes a big difference. The more time you have with the penny turret, the more opportunities to push the enemy back, to grab kills, all that jazz. So I think seeing a penny turret go down a little bit earlier could definitely change the course of this game.
Kenji's gonna have to work hard for it. Kenga gets that super. No use of the gadget. I mean, it would just be feeding Kenji, but they do manage to do it anyway. Kenji has his turret set up, and it's way, way far back. And look at it firing across the map at Kenga. You can see what a distance. As they pick up yet another kill, dealing with the over-aggression of Kenji.
Sergeant not able to pick anything up other than maybe a couple thousand damage with that super. Trying to put himself in strong position, but again, the gust bubble prevailing. Megu getting in on the action now. Mimi survives, though, and it's Revenant Esports taking the lead alongside a Sergeant frag on the right-hand end. Once again, it's going to be Angelic. 30 seconds to go and have to make a play.
Misjudgment 100%. There was no reason to go for that kill as Carl supering up to a Leon. Now they're going to pay the price. Revenant Esports now compound their lead. 3 additional stars on the scoreboard. Megu forced to back all the way up, and Mimi's out of a hypercharge, but we don't really see valuable abilities for Angelic. Kenga does have a hypercharge, but he needs to combo it with a super to get maximum value. Kenji, Mimi, Sergeant, all full health. 5 seconds remain. Kenji, pinch, that could be the kill with just seconds remaining. Angelic managed to take it back with the blue star differential.
Set-changing play right there. Again, Angelic. Perfect timing, the precision, the calculation to go for 1 final push just prevails. They did such a good job there of timing themselves up and walking away with a victory. I'm really impressed with this squad, to be honest with you, Reddy. This is a team, like we mentioned, they're serious dark horses going into Revenant. This is not a team that we expected to be contenders in a possible grand finals, and they're up 2-1 against a team that had an organization go to Worlds, has had players compete in World Finals, Grand Finals. This is a team that is very accomplished players. And Angelic, some new dogs on campus, just getting the job done and doing it really well.
And suddenly I also don't feel as upset about my prediction being wrong for the Angelic match in the quarterfinals because of how well they're putting up a fight against Revenant Esports. This was really close. I think I liked Revenant's strat better, but towards the end, they ended up having to pay the price. Also, can we talk about Angelic in game number 2? We saw Megu go in for a super on Mimi right here. Why? There was no reason to do that. Definitely a misjudgment. They managed to bring it back by, honestly, pure skill. I liked the draft for Revenant Esports better. I think Penny, you know, there's a good reason that she slipped on, and, you know, I think she's got a hidden talent, and she's got to keep it hidden until the meta changes.
Yeah, I think Penny didn't end up being the worst there. I think in game number 2, when they were able to put that turret down, old Lobber getting some kills, getting a little bit of damage in there, I think it can help ward the enemy off, right? But it's still not going to be a brawler that I feel like is so elevated to the point where it's going to be a game changer. It makes sense into the spiders of Charlie. That might have been part of the influence in why people are bringing it up on this map in particular. But Penny is probably one that I think is going to be very circumstantial. Didn't quite work out on that one. And so now all the pressure on a Revenant, the team that we expected, that 96% of us, I might add, thought would win this. Brawl Nation is definitely going to be caught off guard if Angelic wins this.
Look, let me just state something here. We see them picking a Penny, and they go down. We see them pick the Bonnie, and they go down. Hey, Revenant, maybe it's time to start thinking inside the box, because the other way around, it ain't working right now. And I like what Angelic is doing. They're not going for anything too crazy right now. Carl is one of those brawlers that received a buff recently, and honestly, Carl is always like a 1% damage buff away from being meta. It's like historically how Carl has always been. Does he appear on Heist? I don't think so. Maybe I'll hold my breath. Maybe we see Revenant go for something experimental. I just hope that the experimentation, or rather, okay, they're not experimenting in a monthly final. Let's get that out of the way. But doing some of the new stuff, the stuff that isn't tried, tested, true for the last several months, maybe we retire that for now and go for something consistent.
A fierce call to action from you, Reddy. Really looking for Revenant to start showing some stuff. I mean, I get it. I know you want some star drops, brother. I understand the frustration. Plenty of weekend left to get a prediction right. We're going to be all right here, all right? Let's buckle up. And it's not over yet. Revenant are still here for a reason. They are still top dogs for a reason. And hopefully they can figure it out. I would love to see this go to a set 5 personally. I'm always down for some exciting brawl. Safe zone, though, I do agree with you. Some of these brawlers that we just saw, I would not necessarily expect to see. Carl, somebody like you said, that's always just one little tweak away from being really good brawler. Not necessarily somebody I'm counting on here for safe zone. I'm thinking of these sharpshooters. I'm thinking Nani. I'm thinking Piper. I'm thinking even Larry Laurie can show up. And Chuck, the train conductor, I want him off this map. It is so frustrating to play that guy. He can do so much damage. Colette, though, pretty good substitute.
Okay, the Colette into the Bell. Now, Colette, historically, what deals with her? The stuff that... Wait, Bonnie into the Colette. Historically, this is a really bad matchup for Bonnie because one of the things that she leverages most is her health, and Colette don't care about your health. She's still going to hit you with the 1-2 super combo that kills every single brawler in the game. So this is kind of an interesting one for Angelic to pick up the Bonnie here. I don't like its interaction into the Colette. We'll see what Revenant Esports does to accent what they have already. Of course, I did make some negative remarks about the Bonnie selection earlier, so you know maybe I got to keep it even. But for now, no, I don't like it. I don't like it. Get it out of here. Bonnie to Colette.
You're nothing but consistent, my friend. And I think in fairness, Colette and the Bonnie matchup is going to favor Colette. Colette is already a strong brawler on this map. Colette has a hypercharge that I personally think is really good. And of course, you get 2 backswings into the high safe if you use it. I think Colette just makes a lot of sense to be a good brawler into Bonnie. I guess pro players have just seen something from Bonnie that we necessarily haven't gotten to see yet. Because Bonnie on the main stage hasn't quite worked out yet, but I won't lie. I mean, I've seen it a ton in practices across different regions, especially APAC, like I noted earlier. So clearly there's something going on with this brawler that teams are really digging. I think Bonnie's just going to have to be really focused on using supers on that high safe. Colette's somebody that just can do it a little bit easier, I think, has a favorable matchup there. So on paper, I like that. They did pair it with the Bell, I believe, though. So Bell going to be somebody into Colette that I think the long-range sharpshooter can work out. But then you get Nani on the other end. I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot going Revenant Esports' way this time.
Yeah, okay, we got the Nani into the Bell. I really like this matchup for Revenant Esports. Nani should be dipping this matchup almost all of the time. Sergeant can't even be bothered to run his shield gear here either. We see also Nani able to get some teleports in on the safe. Kenji might be able to just use his gotcha and get some free damage off of Mizzy. I mean, look, it's the 1-2 combo. It's a free kill, and Kenji just got hypercharge from that. Not the entire ability, but he's got it charged up. A missed super there from Kanga enables Kenji to stay alive. This guy's probably halfway to his hypercharge. That's 25% damage on the safe if he combines it with the super.
Not to mention, too, a damage gear, a hypercharge, a super, any of that. Easy 10 to 15+% coming in every time Colette dashes into that heist safe. Nice connections here from Kanga, though. There's some of the interaction that I was talking about a little bit. Sharpshooters traditionally do well into Colette, do enough damage. Colette not necessarily the healthiest brawler in the world, and obviously have a little bit extra range compared to somebody like Colette, who traditionally does well into high HP brawlers. Interesting use of the Nani peep there, too, I might add. Sergeant clearly wanting to open this up. Not really afraid to do that. I can't imagine that wasn't anything but on purpose. A little rocket ring, Mimmy with a jump away, one final rocket inbound. On the other end, though, Mizzy doing some good work, but not enough to keep up with Revenant Esports output right now.
Okay, Sergeant's threading the needle over here, now moving to the back right to get some big taps on the save. 4.8k with each shot that he lands. But Megu and Kanga are forced to take a suboptimal matchup. They're not really able to fight this super well. It's a matchup that Nanny would be way better equipped to deal with. So Kenji basically gets to fight his way out of mid. Minmi does get a good pinch with Megu on the right side. Kanga still lighting up Kenji. It is his sole responsibility to defend, but Angelic are taking so much damage on their save.
Yeah, a little ring around the rosies for Memmi here, too. Ooh, did pop that super. I don't think it's ultimately going to matter too much. They only have 1% left. 28s to go, though. And a lot of red brawlers in the middle of the map. But now that a Nani peep is going through, this is going to be really tough to defend with a teleport available. Going to do their best, though, and one last shot on the other end will do the trick. Revenant Esports, one game away from sending us to set 5.
Like the play from Revenant Esports. Off the beginning of the match, I was a little surprised why they didn't break that 2x2 block of obstacles that is by mid, considering it would actually be pretty good for Bonnie to set up. They're really good for any enemies to hide behind that obstacle, but it turns out Minmi, he wanted to run rocket laces so that he could deal with Bonnie jumping on him, and Sergeant's just ready to nuke it with the Nanny super. I think wise play from them there. It does sacrifice a little bit of potential safe damage there for Sergeant, but it makes Kenji's matchup a lot easier as long as Bonnie decides to keep running this right lane versus him.
Gonna have to see some changes here from Angelic if they want to keep up. One note, Mizzy into this Kenji matchup, not something they're looking for. Gonna really have to rely on trying to get some heavy damage, keeping the pressure alive. I love the spawners coming out. I think it can be really helpful. We're gonna need to see some triplets or quadruplets coming out from Eve, but a Nani peep, always going to be lethal. Look at that surprise teleport there. Sergeant just looking for the frag. Mimmi now diving in as well, does avoid one, gets a chip shot in there, and enough damage alongside Kenji to make it count. Already down to sub 70% for Revenant. Early and often is the definition of this team's high save damage.
Kenji's trying not to trip this nest egg. Minmi might just decide to trip it as a sacrifice as he goes all in on the save. But now his responsibility is dealing with Megu on the left, not to mention the hatchlings trying to take some HP off of the guy. He's not going to die. In fact, never mind, he is going to die from that poison. Mizzy gets some taps on the safe too. Kanga, easy taps on the safe. Sergeant's looking for the angle to knock out Kanga, but it's no good. Kenji has that health and another super on the safe. Revenant Esports, they're up good and they're eating good too. So much safe damage already. Minmi with the easy nuke onto the hatchlings, but it's just a moment too late. Hypercharge action too. And Revenant Esports are in a bad spot. Rather, Angelic are in a bad spot.
Yeah, very difficult situation. And Angelic do not have a composition that can get the heist safe down quickly. They have Bonnie who can dive in, get the little bomber grenades out, but you know, we're not going to get that much from a Bell and an Eve. It's just the way it works. They're more defensive, more position-oriented, and so they're really going to have to rely on Mizzy to get down there, and they're going to have to play a perfect defense along with it. 82% to 70% with only 30 seconds to go. They get the kill on Minmi, but Kenji in the back pocket does have a super available. That would be enough with one swing to take down this ice safe.
Nice defense there also from Mizzy. That was very prudent to super all the way back, but it was no good. Sergeant was already in position for the Nanny plays. Loved the draft. I just like the draft a lot better for Revenant. I said it in the draft. I saw the execution. I'm sticking to my word. Every aspect of it, basically. The only exception, really, is the Bell into the Colette, I think was really smart there. I think it was a rough matchup when it was just Colette and Brock defending against the combo of Eve and Bell. So if Sergeant finds himself all the way on the enemy side, he better be getting damage. Otherwise, it could be not a really worthwhile matchup to leave his teammates in.
Yeah, a little back and forth there. I just think, especially when it comes to Heist, you need more options to deal damage. I feel like Angelic had a composition that really relied on constantly winning interactions, getting chip damage onto that Heist safe with things like the Bell shots, Eve spawners, Eve shots. I just didn't feel like they had enough output to match what Revenant had. They had so many options to roll with. Colette super, Nani teleport. They had quick and easy access from long range to do not just a little damage, a lot of damage, and rather quickly. All three of their brawlers were equipped to just take down a Heist safe.
And I think it also goes beyond just the draft. I think we saw Revenant Esports outplay these guys as well. I think there were some moments where we saw Angelic really scrambling to defend something, get some teamwork going. Here, like Menmi being a distraction on the right side, Kenji's wide open on the left, I think is just Revenant Esports. They're playing these lanes well, and Angelic, the shot calling, just could use a little bit of improvement.
We've seen some really good drafts from Angelic. I'm with you. I feel like that's a good way of putting it. We just got to see better execution. They've had some really brilliant moments today. They've had some really good gameplay as well. I feel like they're keeping up with Revenant for the most part. But in a draft like that, I just didn't wow me. Didn't wow me. Need more damage output. I just feel like there's a little tinkering that could be done. But clearly, I'm seeing the upside from Angelic. I think they have a really good chance here to maybe come away with this. They're only one set away from making a rather large upset.
Sergeant, look at how many kills he got there. Obviously, it's not the objective of this mode, but when Colette is eating good, you know she's getting that hypercharge and that super connected on the safe. If she's winning the lane and she's getting her supercharge, it's only a logical deduction that she is going to be getting that nice number off of the safe. It's 10% off the safe, I believe, just from one super, which makes her big money on this map. I'm almost surprised she wasn't banned.
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of see, you know, like I said, new set of balance changes means that these pros are figuring it out alongside us too. Again, there's brawlers out here that I'm really surprised to see as much as we have. Bonnie's somebody that I expected to be prevalent, but not necessarily showing up as much as we have. And I feel like there's a ton of sharpshooters out in the mix now too. Last year, especially towards the end of the year already, it felt like we had such a tanky meta. Tanks revolved around the world. And now we kind of get a little more of a mix, I feel like. I think we're starting to see this more long-range battle play out that may be partially due to the map pool that we have, but I feel like we are starting to see a lot more bans of the Angelos, the Nanis, the Pipers of the world. So it's kind of interesting to see a little bit of a mix here.
Yeah, I think another thing to consider is just we have more brawlers in the game, more strong brawlers in the game. So you have to leave something open like Charlie in some instances. Previously, I mean, Charlie takes up this insta-ban spot. Now it's stuff like Angelo and Larry, and that means other things go unbanned. And in many places, we see those brawlers that were previously banned start to sneak through, and now they dictate the meta. We also saw balance changes that enabled stuff like Bell, like Piper. Bell's hypercharge being the balance change, and Piper just getting a fat damage buff several months ago that have propelled them to the spot where they find themselves now in the meta.
Yeah, we've had a ton of balance changes since World Finals, too. I mean, for example, Charlie's gotten a ton of them, so finally she's playable. No more constant banning. We've gotten a lot from Larry and Lori, too, who obviously were added after the fact and coming into this season, but they've gotten several nerfs and are still really good, too. Loving the spot that Leon's at. There's just a lot of different brawlers, I would say, a lot of varying play styles here, too. It's all going to come down to one final map here on Hot Zone Dueling Beetles. This map is always so spicy to me. There's so many different ways and interactions that you can get to the goal of holding on to that hot zone. Throwers can work here. Long range can work on these outside lanes, and a ton of mid-range brawlers come in the mid here. Thinking ones like Pam, Jesse have come more relevant recently too. So I feel like there's a lot of winning combinations here, and I'm curious to see what each side kind of elects to be their winning combination.
Well, we've seen this map so far once today. So we've seen one winning combination and one losing combination, if we want to think about it that way. One thing that we did see picked here that actually ended up getting a bunch of kills but did not net the victory was Miko, some of these assassin brawlers. When it comes to Hot Zone, the most important thing is surviving on the point. And I mean, look, you don't even have to really survive that well. You just gotta exist. One of those brawlers that can survive and exist on the point at the same time is Pam, and we saw Pam selected previously. We'll see Cord, Byron, and Buster selected here for Revenant. And wow, check it out. We have the Pam and the Jesse both selected for Angelic. This has to be the 2-3 pick, and then the Spike last, if you ask me.
Yeah, Spike's somebody that's kind of faded away from the professional meta a little bit. I do think it's really interesting to see the Buster combined with the Byron. Again, we're seeing Byron with tanky or assassin-like brawlers a lot today, and I do think Buster is one of the stronger tanks for pro players in the meta right now. I think they pair this with Cordelius in order to avoid the enemy team having just a hard counter into somebody like to somebody like Buster. But right now, Angelic just kind of being a unit. We've got the high output of DPS from Kanga, Jesse turret, and Pam turret is going to be such a deadly combination to deal with, especially for the brawlers that Revenant drafted.
Yeah, it's just kind of rough. I mean, you pick Pam and then you pick her biggest counter. What are they going to do? It's not like Jesse's not already really good on this map, too. The hypercharge pop for Megu, and now it's the double turret action. Mimi, yeah, sure, throw your super on there, but the thing's got almost 10,000 health, and now you got to deal with it anytime you want to push through. It's not even like Kenji can really block it. Like, you want to put your shield out in front of you, not to the side, but that turret's going to be getting so much damage on him. This is a 100-0 game, a 100-0 draft for Angelic. I'm surprised this was allowed to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to top that. There's so much on the field, and if you think about it too, Byron, Buster, they're not brawlers that are going to be able to quickly take out a healing station, and now there's a healing station and a Jesse turret. Both those brawlers, some of the best on this map, some of the best in the game right now, a lot going right for Angelic, and now they are one game away from making an upset happen that 96, I'll say it again, 96% of us at home have. 4% of Brawl Nation might be able to hold their hats up very high here in a moment.
Well, Angelic have been pushed off the point at the start of the game. Sargent had to make some very aggressive plays. Now he's going to do the same again, trying to get some of that damage off of Mizzy, even netting the kill, spawning right on top of Megu. Great shot calling there from Revenant Esports. It takes superior teamwork to make sure that your court is in the right position. Very prudent super from Kanga to keep Sargent locked in position. He might try and spawn on top of Megu if he can't kill Mizzy, which he does. And now he's just down to 100 health, but Megu has cleared out this point quite effectively. The 9,000 health Scrappy is a really tough one to chew through.
It's going to be very difficult for this composition. Again, they're just not able to deal with that turret very quickly, so Buster going to probably have to survive here, make some health points count. They're just going to put down a brand new turret with 6,600 HP, so scrap that strategy. It's in perfect positioning too, slows him down, and more importantly, keeps Kenji off this point a little bit longer. Sargent, though, doing everything in his power to frag out right now. He's been so successful throughout this set, but now finally, Angelic with a little room to breathe and a comeback here on this hot zone.
Finally, the Angelic win condition comes in a more favorable spot. I think the Cord constantly supering the Pam, it eliminates her from this situation, and she's like the most valuable brawler on Angelic because she is survivability embodied in a brawler. Now Megu get to dip their toes in the sort of healing radius that Mizzy has established at the same time as capturing the point. They have locked this down. Sargent's going to have to send Mizzy to the Shadow Realm, manages to do it. We see the turret all the way out in the open. It's slim pickings, but Sargent's still able to get that turret. Angelic, they're just moments away from being able to win it. A desperate couple of hypercharges in to keep their control of the point.
And Kenji low HP, Nenmi a long distance away, Kanga alive, Megu alive, Mizzy alive. 3 red brawlers standing tall here against a presumed titan of this region, and Angelic's miraculous story continues. They're going to be able to keep going forward, and somehow, some way, these underdogs are going to a grand finals.
Incredible for Angelic. Yeah, now I really don't feel bad. Yeah, peace out, brother. What a performance. Spike finally seeing his descent from his perch, presumably whispering sweet nothings and encouraging thoughts in his ear the entire match, because what a performance.
I'm so impressed with this squad. This is a team that, again, we didn't have a lot of data on, but Angelic got the job done. I'm really impressed with the drafting. The mechanics felt up to par to a team like Revenant, who, again, should be highly regarded. I think they, coming into this season, they were easily one of the top 3 teams. Navi, who weren't here, at least for me, were a team that we're going to be on the lookout for. And somebody in future months, too, I definitely will. But Revenant Fall, these are 3 players, again, that have been so good in the past. And Angelic proving themselves here early, not to mention for the leaderboards, too. We've only got 5 monthly finals. And in the very first one, you're setting the precedent that you can go to a grand finals. On the other end, they're still gonna have a tough opponent no matter who it is. I think it's safe to say that Crazy Raccoon are probably gonna have some heavy voting. It's gonna be tough to take them down, but they just did it with Revenant. Why not one more?
Dude, draft diff here. I like the combination of Pam and Jesse. It's one of the best brawlers on this map, and the biggest thing that deals with it. I think Revan and Esports really were onto something with it, using chords, spamming the supers, and keeping Pam locked in the Shadow Realm, but in the moments that she does get to come up for air and sort of dip her toes in the zone in the real world, she can get her super and put it down for her teammates, and I mean, it just works. Well, what can I say? It just works. Look how many kills Angelic were able to get. They established dominance on the safe. We see Sergeant popping off as usual with a bunch of kills. He's on the DPS brawler. He's getting on the Pam. It's sort of what you expect, but I think Byron really fell short here.
Yeah, it's one we're just going to have to keep thinking about, right? Byron's somebody that's had a mixed bag of results. It's a brawler that I'm not 100% sold on. I think it can work, but I just love that draft, like you said, from Angelic. Pairing the Jesse with the Pam. And then Spike alongside it too, I think works out really well. They just had a little bit of everything. And the people at home spoken. They're picking Kanga as an MVP for a thriller of a match. It's only month number 1, but you best be betting Revenant are going to have their eyes out in future months for a matchup with Angelic. I am sure they're going to be wanting this one back.
Oh yeah, I do not think that they were expecting this one. I think that just some of the drafts were sort of things that they feel safe on. I really do subscribe to the belief that they had their eyes on the prize. They were really focused on that grand final. I think they dedicated a good amount of effort to the semifinal because we saw some moments where they drafted really well. I will simply point to Safe Zone to exemplify that. But when it came to dueling Beetles, I wasn't really a fan. I hope to see them come back in the future months because Revan Esports, I mean, this is a historic team. They did so well last year at Worlds, and I would like to see them succeed.
Yeah, I think Revenant Esports will be back. I still expect this team to be very solid in future months, but for now, the 4% of y'all at event.brawlstars.com that ended up picking Angelic, mad respect to you. I didn't necessarily do it. The casting desk was completely wrong on that, but you're gonna have more opportunities later on through the day to get some more predictions right if you missed out on that one. We'll be back in just a short moment, but for now, a quick word from our sponsors.
The Snapdragon Pro Series Brawl Stars Championship, powered by Samsung Galaxy, is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, Monster Energy, and DHL.
And here we are, folks, at the Brawl Stars Championship powered by the Snapdragon Pro Series. And we already have our first upset. It was a grind. It went to all 5 sets, but some impeccable drafting from Angelic yielded them a win over probably the favorite team, one of the favorite teams in this entire region. Revenant stumble in the semi-finals. Kenny, what a showing from them. From Angelic, excuse me, to see them advance through here. They have had 5 setters all the way through. They're getting maximum brawl under their belts here. And we'll be waiting to see what they've got for us in the grand final. But let's look down a bit further here, because never back down. They had a grind of their own to make it into the semi-finals. And Kenny, doesn't get any easier.
They've been battle tested for sure, going all the way to a set number 5 against Team S1, and that was already a thriller. Now you get to play a team that's got world champions, that's got semifinal 2023 pedigree. It's as tough as it gets, man. Again, can't emphasize enough. These are the blue bloods of Brawl Stars. They have results. They've gotten the job done. But heck, if Angelic can make a miracle run, maybe Never Back Down can do the same.
It is possible. They've definitely been tested today. Ready, let's review our predictions here. They are all over the place, frankly. But your quarterfinal picks, you know, again, you managed to get one, just like the rest of us here. So we somehow still are neck and neck after bottoming out on our semi-final call, all thinking Revenant would advance.
Blind faith can get you one quarterfinal correct, but it won't get you more than just that. It seems like we all agree here, and we were all equally upset at that Revenant loss in the semifinal, but we're still hedging our bets on Crazy Raccoon. Once again, I mean, this is the safe pick. None of us could expect the Angelic to come out swinging with such fire behind their eyes today.
All right, well, we are neck and neck here in predictions. Looks like it might sort of stay that way. I hope you guys at home are getting your predictions in as well. At event.brawlstars.com, that's the place to be to see the entirety of the Brawl Stars Championship go down this year. 5 monthly finals of action, and you don't want to be missing a second of it. Don't bother sleeping. It's once a month. Just stay up. No, don't, actually. I don't want to give that kind of advice to you guys. Stay in school and sleep. For the love of God. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about our next matchup. Never Back Down have lived up to their name thus far, but their biggest challenge awaits as Crazy Raccoon are chomping at the bit. Seeing Revenant fall on the other side, they want to get this one done and dusted. Milcrio, Shu, and Melty. This is a team, of course, if you remember, like that Aphelion roster, right? They came over to the East Asian region, and Chasmac, EA's Melty have sort of joined together. Shu and Melty have played together for ages, right? They were on a team together back in 2022. There's pre-existing synergy here, Kenny. Is it enough to topple the Titans of APAC?
I've been wrong before. Moments ago, I told you there was no reason that Revenant should lose that matchup. But here I am again. And I'm going to stand firm that Crazy Raccoon should be favorites, even though Melty, Milcreo, and Shu have some familiarity, are definitely some good players, I might add. All of these guys had success last year as some of the top in their respective region. But it's Crazy Raccoon, man. I just can't bet against them. It's just the way it is. Despite these awesome highlights, despite an absolute barn burner of a match that they had in the quarterfinals, it's still going to be a tough one to overcome. But again, you never know. I've been wrong before. 96% of us, in fact, have been wrong before. We'll see what happens here.
One thing, Reddy, that sort of we've noticed from our top two teams in APAC, and that's what caused the big stumble for Revenant, is that the gameplay's been good. The drafts, though, been a little sussy. Especially here for Crazy Raccoon. That one set, in their quarterfinal game, they look a little wonky, end up giving that one up pretty comfortably here. We know these guys are gods. Mechanically, they're absolute legends. But perhaps on the coaching side, considering they, probably... again, have had questions aimed at them in that regard before. That's a nice way of saying it. That's something that we're going to be looking at very closely.
The whisperings that I've heard in NA seem to unanimously say, yeah, these guys just copy all of our NA drafts right before Worlds, and that's how they pull it off. And that's kind of a really accusatory opinion. But so far, these drafts are raising some eyebrows for me. I think we really are seeing them absolutely spot on at times, even when the drafts lose, like we saw in our first quarterfinal of the day. I really like the Angelo pick, for instance. So I hope to see some of the stuff that I expect. I mean, obviously it makes my job easier, but I hope to see some experimentation that next victories here instead of failures.
Well, they do have the weapon of Coach Rely, who has been in this game for quite some time, going back to that PSG esports team. So Crazy Raccoon have no reason not to have veterancy when it comes to their drafts here. A couple slip-ups here and there, but again, these teams, Kenny, are still kind of finding their way, right? The metagame's changed a lot. Yeah, we've had a lot of scrimming, but we've had like a lot of botting, for example, who's struggled at times here. Before we let you go, what are your thoughts here as we head into Pinball Dreams? What should we be avoiding if we're Crazy Raccoon?
Do not, no Larry Laurie. Immediately it's the first brawler that comes to mind, unless you have some just awesome wall break mechanics. Even still, the guy's got some good movement speed. He adds an extra brawl on the map. I think 89% of people are with us. This is how it should go down, but that's not always the way it happens. We'll see what happens. I hope you guys have an awesome match ahead of you all too. Our first semifinal is great. I expect nothing less from a second.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Yeah, myself and Ready Set are on deck and hoping for another close one here. We want maximum brawl out of the APAC region, and Pinball Dreams is quite the spicy place to start things off. We've seen, on Brawl Ball especially, like a lot of Gene and Buster. Larry and Laurie getting picked first. Oh my God. Kenny in absolute shambles.
Oh, it's torture camp, man. The Larry appears immediately. I don't know why they're picking the Willow so early, though. They have last pick. What could they possibly be planning? I guess they want their Willow to get countered. I mean, it's not like Larry doesn't have superb range and superior damage when it comes to the sort of thrower landscape. So Crazy Raccoon could honestly break some walls versus Angelo. That's hazardous. So I think actually Never Back Down have put them in a tricky situation.
Again, we see like a spike, rather a Sprout Barley ban, so it kind of is already a tip-off that they're looking for a somewhat shorter range thrower. Obviously what Larry and Laurie lack in range, they make up in basically every other facet of their game here. D'Angelo, of course, look, he can pierce those sort of barriers, right? That is something that can be quite important. Kenny told us to look out for this Larry and Laurie pick here. Obviously very powerful. When we see multiple throwers, though, again, can get outranged. The Willow gets picked first, I guess. Look, being able to take over a brawler, especially if they're in possession of the ball, is really, really strong. But it is exploitable now, seeing it come up this early. Can you counterpick that? Like, what is the direction that you want to go in if you're Crazy Raccoon to shut that down?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think Larry and Laurie is just a better thrower than Willow. I think one thing that you could do is, like, play super aggro into it. You could break down walls and just run it down. I mean, if you have some walls broken open, obviously you want to, like, leave some of the bushes, but something like a Sandy could just completely run Willow down and she wouldn't be able to do anything into it. Once the walls are broken, you are able to do a lot of different things. Once again, I mean, I'll repeat what I said earlier. Breaking walls is hazardous, and now that Angelo is here to play, so I think they are put in a tough situation draft-wise. I do have my faith in them. We'll see what their strategy is. They decided to go Stu, so you have the aggro and you have the wall break. I think that early game, this is a good lane for Tensai. They can't really afford to switch lanes. And also, it's worth pointing out that Spike is a pretty good lane into Stu as well.
Gus and Stu. And like we said, the draft for NBD rounded out by the Spike. Tensai suffering a bit of pressure early here. Milk-Rio sending a shot here and there over towards that Larry lane. Moya, there's already been able to build up super, so when it's time to go, it'll be pretty nasty, but have a look at that. A lot of health shaved off the Gus there as Milk-Rio hits a big shot.
Crazy Raccoon backed up. We'll see Melty also. He has a super. In a way, Spike is sort of a thrower because if he has a super, he can chuck it over a wall, get some good pinches from there. So far, Milk-Rio is getting mad damage on Moya. Moya forced to heal up here as well, getting good jukes on the curveballs as well. On the right side, Shu actually has gotten some damage on Larry, but it's a complete standoff at the moment. Oh, big takedown on a Tampo, and Milk-Rio now gets to push it. That's what it's all about. You pop these brawlers in just one shot.
Milk-Rio so hard to shift. They really haven't moved too far from that position. Throw the super down, top back up, and slowly, incrementally, never back down. We're looking to take a little bit of map control. But they're not convinced that that was the opening they were looking for. Maybe just fearing the all-in potential of the Stu coming back off the spawn. Hypercharge, though, is up now for Melty. The Spike's about to hit a little harder.
Moya still looking for the pinch versus Melty this entire time. I should point out, Tampo has yet to get a super. This guy is working for a super, for some wall break wherever he can. He does have the super now versus Melty. So how is he going to utilize it? We haven't seen Speed Zone yet, so breaking through the walls is the obvious thing to do, but just no moves yet. It's a complete fest of footsies, pretty much. Everyone just playing on the edge of each other's range. Now the hypercharge coming in from Melty. This is the big moment. The takedown on Moya, the pass to Melty, and a completely open goal.
They walk it straight on in there. Great shot from Milk-Rio. I think it was Moya just getting clapped by that Angelo. And then it was on. Great work combining, of course, with that Spike super. And instantly, Tensai's going to fall. That Larry and Laurie's had no impact so far this round, nor has the Stu. With 3 seconds left, never back down, can just chill.
Well done. Well done for Never Back Down. The passive play was absolutely rewarded. And Crazy Raccoon, they wanted so badly to just do something, anything of substance, but they weren't able to. Loved the lane on the left side. I think I was honestly like a little impressed that Willow was able to secure some damage on Larry and Laurie there on the right side, considering how much I favor Larry in this matchup. We see no lane switch. Milk-Rio is going to try and pinch Tensai early on. Will he be rewarded? Well, no damage on a Tensai, so not quite. Shu's going to be rewarded with a bunch of damage as soon as he comes out of that gadget. So far, though, no major moves. Just another game of poking.
Just some poison ticks there on Tensai. Gadget usage by Shu as they were definitely feeling under pressure, having come so close to the Larry and Laurie. And we have the lane switch finally. Melty says, no, I'm going over here. But in that switch up, Milk-Rio gets caught. Here's an opening, potentially. But Crazy Raccoon also have lost an individual. And Tampo really feeling it from that pinwheel. And Melty now, of course, has that super up here, so it's an opening opportunity for Crazy Raccoon to get more aggressive, but Tensai's ticking down and has to get shielded by Moya. That super's gone for basically nothing.
unfortunate. Looks like Melty will catch the tempo in his grasp, but only for a moment. Still has to connect some curveballs onto the guy. So far, though, big damage for Laurie. Shu's going to get caught off guard. Stetampo breaking his own wall. Honestly, it might work out better for Milcreo because Moya's been suffering in this lane 1v1 at mid. Tensai takes advantage of this opportunity to push up, though. Shu also forced back. He has the mind control if he needs to use it to defend. It wouldn't be ideal, but it is possible. Take down a Stetampo. Milcreo just gets to pop these guys left and right. The struggle is actually connecting those shots, considering the jukes that Crazy Raccoon as a team are capable of.
But Milcreo, you see, they timed the gadget up, the shot was fired off, so that arrow penetrates the boxes. Pretty scary when you can't really do anything about that. You don't know when it's going to come. Another super force by Moya here. Enough time, though, has been allowed for Stetampo to return to the field. Cops another big hit from the Angelo. Again, the Stu's going to be forced back. Damage gadget activated, but no chance to make use of it. And here come Never Back Down. Getting more aggressive now. Stetampo's in trouble, trying to juke away from this damage from the spike, but he's going to get caught. Melty pops the hypercharge, and Moya slowed up. Milcreo's going to slot it, and Never Back Down get themselves a goal in this second round, and they might have the set.
I feel like I'm watching a replay, too. They scored at 20 seconds last time with the exact same combo. Only 10 seconds to go. It's time to push up. Laurie is at play. Milcreo's still alive, but he's taken down by the shotgun. 5 seconds remain. Stetampo needs to push in, but Shu has the mind control. Didn't even need to use it as the clock ticks down. Never Back Down. Close out a flawless set.
Yeah, life plant there is going to be really hard to break through if you're Crazy Raccoon. But straight away, Never Back Down have issued a statement. Yep, I'd have my arms folded too. Tensai less than impressed with what this previously world-beating team has produced for us in this first set in their second semi-final. We've already seen an upset. We also already saw Revenant crumble in a very long set. But that is not the start you are looking for as Crazy Raccoon. You spent a while ready getting a feel for your opponents. We saw a lot of back and forth, a lot of slow play, but Never Back Down are experienced enough to take advantage of some of these windows, and that Angelo pick is punishing them constantly.
I will point out that Stetampo is getting popped by Milcreo. He's trying to poke around this left side, and he gets punished by Milcreo. I can't say it happened consistently because, I mean, did we even see consistent kills in this set at all? No, I think we might have seen, at least in the moments that actually generated momentum that broke us out of the pokes, that only happened like 2 or 3 times this entire set. And usually it started with Milcreo getting a kill onto Stetampo on the left side. So I think this is where we look to identify what was the struggle here. Stetampo with very little DPS, just 62. Compare that to Never Back Down. Milcreo getting 256 as Willow. A brawler that doesn't really have good DPS versus Tensai. This is a lane diff, but I don't think it's really brawler-wise. I think this is a skill diff. Milcreo was popping off on his lane.
I mean, you mentioned, I think it was like a minute into that first round that Stetampo had not built super. And it's pretty damn easy to build your super as Stu. He's hit him once! One time! Stetampo is struggling there because he can't find an angle. He's dealing with a spike lane, and Spike looks so good on that left-hand side. Not a whole lot you can do about it. You're constantly getting poked down, and you're not that durable as Stu. You have the mobility to make up for it, but Spike just keeps getting what feels like virtually free damage until eventually Melty builds a super. The slow is what sets up a kill for Shu. It's an easy shot to make when all of a sudden your opponents are bulked down and you send a penetrating arrow through the boxes to find elimination. And they really just did a great job of pressing into those gaps left by brawlers who got picked up by Angelo. And they have the insurance policy of the mind control, right? They can just, make sure that an enemy brawler that gets a break with the ball ends up turning back in the other direction.
I think it's, as you said, great insurance policy. I think it's also a goal-scoring condition at times that they managed to push things up. But usually once they got momentum, they had to really put the pedal to the metal and make sure that that one punch through generated a goal. There wasn't time for Willow to make her way up. Okay, maybe we get some mind control. LOL, they scored on themselves. It all came down to Angelo pushing up. Keep in mind, he has fast speed. I mean, he was the fastest brawler on their team, a sniper with fast speed. I just don't see how this one is making it through the bans quite frequently and was able to be picked up in this last set.
Yeah, I mean, it is surprising. In fact, I think we've noted that only half the time Angelo is actually getting banned out. There are other brawlers with higher priority. I think like Cordelius is really often getting looked at, and so is Charlie. In a game type like Brawl Ball, again, we harp on it a bit. But taking a brawler out of the game for any stretch of time it's really busted. You can see what these teams do with a kill. What if all you had to do is hit a brawler with your super and have the similar condition for a while? Especially with how spread out you tend to be on this map, you can't really break your teammate out of that cocoon without committing yourself to like a 2 versus 3 fight for a while. And that's just not a risk at this level people are looking to take. Rustic Arcade is up next, a pretty open map as you can see, with some areas to hide behind, some unbreakable boxes there to deploy gadgets if you should need them.
Okay, a lot of picks that are viable here. Larry is honestly one of them that I think could appear on lane. We'll see the bans coming in from both teams. Bell, first selection from Crazy Raccoon. We'll take a moment to assess whether that's good. Okay, Piper, not available, and neither is Nanny, so that's sort of the order of operations, especially when Angelo is also out of the mix. The Byron makes an appearance once again. It's a favorite of this region. You see the Colonel Ruffs and the Byron, and you gotta think, okay, who are they trying to buff up? Who are they trying to push all the way to the enemy side? On a map like Rustic Arcade, though, this is a little bit curious. It's not like you have a lot of terrain that you can work with here. I like the selections from Crazy Raccoon, too. I think Milk Rayo might be forced to not run the sandbags, which is usually the better way to go for Colonel Ruffs, because Shtetampo is going to slice right through him.
Absolutely. That pickaxe will not care about any of those structures in the way. There's a bit of AoE damage as well. Care of the bow. Fang will be the last pick here for Never Back Down. So instead, looking for some all-in, some hard engage, and some decent poke. But Shtetampo on the Carl, that's an absolute classic ready. A comfort pick if I've ever seen one. And taking Nani out of the picture, left that bell open. Crazy Raccoon, it looks like a decent draft. We need to see how it plays out.
Okay, I'm really looking to Shu to see what this guy is capable of. Definitely a fitting name for someone.
Yes.
Brawler. He looks their Shu off, but he has to build the super. He needs 4 hits to get one, and I see Moya's very, very vulnerable to that. Tensai can get some damage, but he's not going to be able to defend versus a Fang too well. It's worth noting that Fang did get some major nerfs in the last balance change, but I think he's still viable, especially if you have Milk Rayo and you have Melty buffing you up.
That health pool is really considerable for a brawler that, has assassin-esque tendencies, right? It's pretty hard to break through, and when he comes running at you, you usually don't have the time to work him down with burst damage. Milk Rayo here trying to pressure Moya back. It doesn't feel or seem like a particularly favored matchup for the Byron here, and Milk Rayo has to, again, take a break from helping out in the middle by healing Shu up. Melty actually wins on that right-hand side, though, so Moya has to give some ground.
Very interesting. I mean, Colonel Ruffs is a good lane here. He's able to bounce around the walls, get some additional range versus Tensai. He'll be forcing him back. You'll notice that he is running the second gadget because his other one would be worthless versus Shtetampo, and sometimes you just don't know which lane you're going to get off the beginning of the game. Shtetampo, he's also trying to play this long range. You'll note that he doesn't... he might be running Power Throw, the first star power, but you'll also notice that he's running the Heat gadget, the one that spawns some fire underneath your pickaxe as you throw it out. Mine's down. That's going to have to be a call out for Never Back Down. We see the super in. Shoot goes for the stun, but it's baited. But no, he doesn't even care. He goes for the kill. He's going to have to work for that super again that could be used versus Moya.
That's one stun out of Shu here, but a super available for the Fang, and Shu's lining it up. A little bit too much damage taken there by Moya. And now you have to fear, the hypercharge Milk Rayo gets connected onto. He was the safest brawler to give the gems to, but now he'll be marked the whole time. And Shtetampo, he knows there's blood in the water. He's sniffing it out. He's coming in. Shu with a jump pad here up on Tensai. Goes for it and lands the super. Shtetampo's the one that falls though. Melty wants to pressure Moya in the back corner. Shu has to go now before his teammates respawn. He gets the gems, but he won't get away with his life.
Well, Tensai's now the gem carrier. He has some mines that he can place down in an optimal area. Milk Rayo's going to look for the kill versus Shtetampo, who's not able to finish it off. Shu needs the super desperately. How close is he? Probably just a couple shots away, but he has a long to go and a short time to get there. Tensai's alive and healthy. Shu needs that last hit, but it's no good. Super's in at the last second, and even then, he probably wouldn't have secured the kill, but only needed 2 arrows on him to finish off that kill. Nicely done for CR. I gotta commend the strategy from Never Back Down. The thing is, it just took them too long to get going, and we saw for too long that Byron was diffed by the bell at mid.
Carl can have problems on this map. You can see that he's not using flying pickaxe, so being able to engage cleanly is difficult. Shtetampo spending much of the round poking here in a bit of a challenging lane matchup. There's obviously the stun that Fang has. It's pretty frightening. So yeah, Shu, more than happy to move up, take space. Shtetampo understands sort of who's in charge on this left lane.
I think Shu also realizes that Shitampo, like, okay, buddy, you know, quit bluffing. You're not going to be supering in and using that super, because if he's running power throw, then his super might as well just be a suicide mission. He has no shield there. Nice one in from Shu. Oh my gosh! And he's even got the fresh kicks equipped, so he gets that super for free. Yeah, why not? Go for survivability, never back down, now possess 7 gems. He can't really afford to stay aggro anymore anyway. Otherwise, he would sacrifice these 3 gems if he fell on enemy lines.
Yeah, carrying too many of them now. That does mean that the engage potential of never back down might be limited, with a Fang that has to all of a sudden play a bit more safe. Milcreo expends the super on keeping Shu alive, as Stetapo now really wants to get in his face. Shu waits till the fire fields expire, and will reassume this position on the bottom right. Melty still with the lane assignment against this boat, because we have had a switch across the map. Shitampo is sitting on that super, looking for an opportunity to go in, but there's so much healing for Shu, and here he comes in with the stun. Another super will get rid of the Carl.
Great Fang gameplay. I think a really prudent super in there from Shu, and you can get the kill confirmed. He gets a super back for free. Just this guy knows how to play, and he's even got a hypercharge. He's gonna go for it. He ganks Moya. He's got to find an exit though. Shitampo's trying to keep him back. The super forward and a kill confirm on the right side. Dodges the pickaxe ever so slightly. Still took a bit of damage, but he's got the heals from Milcreo. That's 5 seconds left. Need to see some connections from Moya. Tensai has enough damage output to get the takedown, but Milcreo's got him healing. Nicely done from Never Back Down. You gotta respect the Fang.
I mean, yeah, they're feeling the pressure. That one was a little more drawn out. Genuinely a very competitive round there on Gem Grab. Starting to see a little bit more about what the Fang is supposed to do, and Carl, despite being picked quite often on this kind of map, has struggled to succeed. It's an interesting, I guess, gadget star power combination for Shitampo. But I mean, it's pretty clear to see that when Fang comes knocking, he is not ready to open the door.
Not at all. We'll see what the lane assignment here is too, because look at this. Crazy Raccoon, it's like they're playing. We'll see what the lane assignment here is. Way over there, we see Melty popping a gadget at mid. It does clear things out. Milcreo's got to be careful about this, that he doesn't trip the nest egg. Nice kill there for Shu. Wow, it took a moment for this guy to get going, but once he's going, he's switched on.
2 gadget uses already though for Shu. Feels like he needs to have the stun to really confirm the kill after the super, unless there are multiple people grouped up, and that's unlikely to happen on this map. Melty coming up, another gadget used to try and make some space, but Moya pops the hypercharge. Just for the raw stats by the looks. Shitampo with super up, doesn't need to go in here. Shu gets brought down. Here it is, the pirouette, and Melty gets brought down. Much better looks here for Crazy Raccoon. This might be a short affair. Shu has to come forward, but eats a nest egg and is slowed up, and Moya just pounds him with shots.
That's how you do it, folks. Once a nest egg gets popped, you instantly auto-aim them. Ooh, the spins and the clown? What is this? You're Crazy Raccoon, buddy. Shouldn't you be winning this? That's their first set victory. In set number 2, the BM towards the end is a little suspicious. They know they're the favorites here. Usually, that is when you're the underdog that you do that kind of stuff. They're confused.
They know these guys pretty well. I mean,
that's fair.
Like, quite well. I mean, I don't think that this is particularly new experience for these guys, and maybe there's even a bit of bad blood, but nothing wrong with a little bit of banter, a little bit of BM there. Talking a little bit more about the car, we finally get to see it come alive that round. We know, obviously now, protective pirouette is that star power choice, and again, as a sort of, we discussed it, flying hook doesn't seem great into someone that can just stun you as soon as you get close. So, a bit of an adaptation there, and this time, some success is found. It is Shitampo on that car. At that point, you know, anything is possible. But what's important is that Crazy Raccoon have evened up the series with a set win.
That is quite valuable. I really did think Never Back Down might be able to do it. I think that Shu was just left unchecked in game number 2, and then Crazy Raccoon managed to reel it back. You saw how much they switched up those lanes and how much of a difference it made as well. Shu, yeah, going in for that last kill. It did not end up being successful, but in game 2, he put on an absolute masterclass, going in for the big play here, getting the double stun and the double kill too to finish things off. We even saw Fang hypercharge at one point, getting massive value versus the Bell.
Yeah, didn't even need to pass through a wall, honestly. Shu just connects it here. But you see how very quickly, I mean, the bell just absolutely explodes. So yeah, Fang, real headliner here, but things slow down a little bit. I mean, here, literally, as a nest egg gets eaten up, and Shu even finds the second one there from Moya. Melting being stunned, not ideal. Tensai doing a very good job of making plenty of space here for Moya just to back away. With those gems, and Crazy Raccoon, it's a hard-fought set. We're starting to see a real top four. Like, our top four teams have been really impressive, but I want to remind everybody that, you know, Angelic and also Never Back Down, they had to fight hard to get to these games. It's not as if they breezed through some random opponent. No, their matches went all the way. So we're starting to realize now that this region at the top, at least the top 6, is pretty darn closely distributed.
No doubt. I mean, I will admit, I was sleeping on Angelic. I thought, well, for sure, they get taken down in that quarterfinal. But no, they prevail at a double match point as well. So they really did go the entire distance in their quarterfinal match. Perhaps they're fully warmed up and maybe they're a little exhausted. Considering they had a tough opponent, at least for them, in the quarterfinal, you have to wonder where their preparation was allocated. Were they expecting a match versus Crazy Raccoon primarily, or were they just focused on getting through that quarterfinal? So far, so good, honestly. Taking a set off of Crazy Raccoon is a feat that even some teams that made it to the World Finals weren't capable of.
No, many of them, actually. Even Zeta Division got pushed to the absolute limit in that game. Tensai on your screen here has been a household name in Brawl Stars for a long, long time. Many, many years. World champion. I mean, this guy's basically done it all. And I think a lot of players, especially from specifically the East Asian region, but even APAC in general, looking at these guys like, you old lions, it's time to drag you guys off your perch. It's time for a new generation. A lot of other teams waiting for their chance to show themselves here. And hey, a great chance for Never Back Down to do just that. Bounty is our next destination. It will be Hideout.
All right, this is where we saw some interesting Gray plays earlier, so I wonder if we'll see some of that now. As far as bans and just what we expect to be played here, you gotta respect the Angelo, the Larry, we saw that earlier. In fact, when we saw it run by Crazy Raccoon, it didn't work so well into the Willow, and it wasn't even like a difference in their supers. No, it was just straight up damage. Willow was diffing that lane, not quite getting kills, but getting the majority of the damage. And if you can soften up your opponents for another member of your team to sneak in and get the kill, then that is great teamwork. We'll see Crazy Raccoon start off this draft with a Bell, mind the bans as well. Brock's going to be opening up some walls here. He can also switch over to Rocket Laces if there is an aggro pick by the enemy team. Charlie's going to be popping some spiders as well. So Crazy Raccoon, they have a few avenues they can use to deal with it. Squeak is a great way of doing it, but it leaves them open to an aggro last pick from Never Back Down.
Gus comes out here, so a number of single-shot brawlers that can be a little susceptible to those spiderlings. And yeah, Laurie left open, one of the most popular picks still on this map. We're going to jump straight in here. This time, Never Back Down. Gonna look to get some value. Again, the nerfs, you can sort of see them here. Not hitting nearly as hard on those two pops, but Shu is doing a good job at forcing Moya away, who has nothing to shoot at right now, while Shu rains those shots in.
We see Milkrio is also the only one here that's capable of wall break, so he basically gets to decide that Shu will have walls for the entire game. The thing that Crazy Raccoon has to navigate around also is that they do have this blue star, so they do get to defend. And I think Squeak is a great defender, but into Shu, he's lacking in range. The only thing he's really got to work with here is health. And yeah, that's valuable in a mode that's about survivability. Make sure you stay alive and take down your opponents. But I just don't see him getting any damage here. It looks like a complete standstill on the left side, and Shu can even make it in on the right side. A little bit pinch out Tampo. I think nice use also the gadget here from Moya to illuminate some of these bushes and slow things down, but it is short-lived. It's not nearly as long-lasting as it used to be.
The slow, pretty powerful, right? This is a very defensive setup here for Crazy Raccoon. Nest eggs getting set up. Shitampo with some spooky boys, probably Kooky Popper. The shield, of course, able to be thrown over whoever's suffering pressure at that moment. Whereas Never Back Down do want to push them into the corner of the map and exploit them, especially with that Brock super. Maybe Melty's able to find a connection as well. Might be time for Laurie to make an appearance in a moment. Some more spiderlings being deployed again. This is just more pressure onto the Gus. Force those shots out. Heal there for Shu. Wanted to try and keep Laurie in the game a little bit longer, but Moya has so much damage. Another residue used, though. That's at least 2 down.
Moy finds an opportunity to push in, though. He's going to use yet another residue. So far, Crazy Raccoon are just hanging on to this one blue star lead. Nice connection there from Tensai. No kill on the Milk Rio just yet. Chewy's locked in place. There's the takedown. It looks like Never Back Down have no moves left. An entire team wipe. Missed super there for State Tapo at the end, but hey, we won't touch on it too much. A game win is a game win.
That's a hard comp to play against, honestly. Crazy Raccoon's setup is really good. I mean, you might be against a thrower on that squeak lane, but you can like use the gadget to cover out the bush, make it basically, you know, suicide to jump in there as the Larry and then try and take that space off. I mean, yeah, you said nice shot, but you can't really miss that super when you have a hypercharge in play. Tensai just makes it impossible for Milk Rio to be involved, and eventually Never Back Down had to go aggressive and had no foundation, had no leg to stand on.
Smart here, I think. Never Back Down. I just think maybe they didn't rush that blue star enough, because I do like their damage and the way they're able to hold this quite a bit better. Now Crazy Raccoon are going to be playing aggro into them. Moya's able to zone things really well. It's going to come down to Stetampo to actually finish off some of these kills. Milk Rio's also continuing to play this max range Brock on the right side. Don't see any pinches just yet. Maybe it's time. Melty's fully pushed back on the right side. Even takes an additional hit from Stetampo. Milk Rio picks up the kill on the Moya, though. An unexpected one. Miss for Stetampo. Looks for that last bit of damage, but no kill confirmed. Never Back Down are up by 3 stars. 0 for Crazy Raccoon.
Yeah, now this defensive comp has to get aggressive because they gave up that blue star and they look to struggle at times here. Even losing Melty, Never Back Down still have that blue star lead. Well, not anymore. Milk Rio getting picked off as Tensai takes space.
Yikes. I think a nice shot leading there for Tensai, who's just expert marksmanship. Also, it looks like reading the dodging pattern of Milk Rio as he is shooting ahead of where Milk Rio ends up trying to dodge the attack to. If you watch just that 1v1 on the right lane, but Never Back Down. I think we saw Melty just go to aggro while he was on low health, ended up getting pinched, and now Never Back Down have to pay the price, if you will. Melty's still looking for his first super, mind you. He's not able to put anyone in the cocoon just yet. Diff on the right side as well. As a 2v1 goes well for Crazy Raccoon. We're entering the countdown. Crazy Raccoon are up by a significant margin, one that I don't think Never Back Down.
That was clever. Kuki Popper used there by Shitampo to actually take down the Spiderlings before they could advance. Only one was left there. And Never Back Down eventually crumbled. Crazy Raccoon secure the set. I mean, that Bell versus Brock lane for Crazy Raccoon was really favorable. Basically, you know, over both matches of that set. Nice looks here for Crazy Raccoon. The draft's looking a lot tighter. It's a composition that has a lot of safety, has a lot of defensive gadgets, but also has burst damage out of nowhere sometimes, and that hypercharge on Bell, that is scary. You've got no choice. You get marked and then you can't go aggressive. So when you fall behind, you don't have a great way to try and get back in the game. The moment you try and step forward, you'll get punished.
I think what we saw from Never Back Down here was just they picked a lot of things that would prevent future picks, and in the end they just had like a fistful of puzzle pieces that didn't fit together essentially. They didn't create a big picture. You have Charlie, like, yeah, she's able to counter a tank, but if no tank is picked, then what is she? Crappy damage at long range, and maybe some spiders that seem to be dealt with just fine by Crazy Raccoon. It's things like these that I think led to the demise of Never Back Down here. Crazy Raccoon, they also managed to snag what I think was honestly kind of an undeserved blue star at the beginning of game 1. Really expected Never Back Down to be able to get that one more effectively. You have Shu, who can spam a bunch of shots down at mid without risking his own safety because, folks, he's a thrower, so he doesn't need to be it down that straightaway. Never Back Down did manage to get that blue star to start off game number 2, but some plays where they were overextended, and honestly Crazy Raccoon did a great job of backing them up into their own spawn and putting them in tight pinches, led to them losing that lead and ultimately losing the set.
Yeah, that 2v1 collapse on the right, that was very telling here. Wow, just a one elimination for Never Back Down. That is pretty wild, I think. Melty obviously not really being put in a position to succeed so much. I mean, this might be one of the most slanted post-game stats cards I've ever seen. Very, very strong showing for Crazy Raccoon, and yeah, Tensai and Shitampo really working that right-hand side on occasion. Basically guaranteed a kill when you get that Bell hypercharge. And the Gus is really effective there. If you need to go all in, if you need to be the aggressor, that shield, you know, cuts both ways, ironically. You can use it defensively to just as good effect. We'll Never Back Down. kind of got beat in the drafts there. Maybe they should have left that one in the drafts.
Yeah, unfortunate. I think never back down. I mean, something that we just haven't really seen in this region so much is super aggro plays. The most aggro thing that we've seen so far is Fang, really. And Fang is one of those where he's actually a pretty safe brawler. You play him on lane, you know, kick your shoes off and get 4 shots. Now you're in business. But even then, it'll be a while before that super actually gets used. It's just the dojo, you know? It's a play style of the region. It is the brawlers that are good here to the brawlers that are picked here. So do we see some aggro players, or rather some aggro brawlers in the future? Honestly, I'll place my bets on no. And for that reason, I like Crazy Raccoon's draft here better.
And again, this team, they're on the precipice of heading into a grand final to re-establish the hegemony, I suppose, of the APAC region, to get back in the driver's seat and get off to a great start. Remember, less monthly finals means less opportunities to amass those circuit points. You really want to get off to a good start. Knockout coming out. Again, we should expect to see like Piper and Nani bans. It probably means we probably see maybe another appearance of Bell. I don't know, something about sharpshooters and homing shots is very, very, very good.
Not just that, but like also, of course, being able to play at long range. Now, when we talk long range, when we talk out on the open, I think one that is forgotten just because he's so new is Angelo. This guy can hover over the water on the left side. You could get additional speed if you want, but personally, I think that the heal here is better.
Yeah.
And for the same reasons that Angelo would be good on that left lane, Eve also good on that left lane. And Eve's one that we've seen for a very long time, so it's not a huge stretch of logic to suppose that Angelo will also be good here. That's got to be an insta-ban if you have last pick here. We'll see if it actually comes through in the draft. Yeah, Angelo is banned. A Jean first selection here for Crazy Raccoon, I think, is a great one.
Yeah, Eve is open, right? She's not, strictly speaking, a sharpshooter. But the fact that her star power allows her to get the big damage shot before the other two means that she's not bad if you're just assuming you're only going to hit 1 shot per salvo. And yeah, Crazy Raccoon picked that up. It gives them a lot of flexibility on the left. You can back away. Like, you can get out of this sort of enclosed mid-area much easier. That level of safety is a big difference maker. Just as Moya is doing now. Can give ground, can come back, get in the fight. The hatchlings can be very annoying also for single-shot brawlers, many of which you see on this kind of knockout map.
See how Milkrio's playing this Brock on the right side. We see CR double stack it. Now Melty has to move over to that lane to help out. He's managed to catch Tensai in the bush. Gonna try and predict his movement. Managed to hit one. There's the rocket from Milkrio. The sort of posthumous super kill there brings this down to a 2v2. So far, Shu's trying to play this at long range. The thing that we didn't see in the draft is that Mandy has made an appearance here. Shu's able to farm up his super that's mad valuable. Melty tanks quite a bit of damage there. Looks like he might actually get pinched by Moya. We see no connections of shots here for really Shu. Might have spoken too soon, though. He did manage to get one on Stettampo, but they don't have command of the mid area.
No, this is dangerous. They've lost control, but Melty gets the shield now. Can go more aggressive. The hatchling wasn't able to protect the mother, apparently. Crazy Raccoon crumbled in those last few seconds. They were looking for something. They were fishing. Didn't have the magic hand to rely on, though, and that hurt them. Shu now had that super available. Watch out.
He's not quite able to one-tap any of these brawlers, but if that shield goes away, then it's able to make it happen. Stettampo went over to the right side instead of to the left, as Shu had predicted, and he's wasted his super for now. Crazy Raccoon continue to push Never Back down into their own spawn. Melty and Milkrio have other plans, though. They really want to pursue this Eve lane on the right side, perhaps even getting a pinch on a Tensai. So far, avoiding a lot of the shots. There's a connection for the mark from Tensai. He's dodging the shots well, but Melty gets the kill. There, the Vengeful Spirits in, and I think Stettampo really wanted that onto Milkrio. Would have been the kill confirmed, but nothing just yet. Could have been an easy kill. In fact, there's a pinch, so Stettampo gets to hang on to his super, and, well, he has no choice for the next round. Moya still pursuing Melty. He's going to look to heal up all the way to full. I think this is a 1 round for Never Back down, but Moya still gets a tap. This is a close one.
Moya has a chance to heal, but eventually has to step ahead of the gas. So that healing will be stopped, and Shu will finish the job. Never Back down. Great start here on Knockout. Really good looks. You know, again, with the map being so open, it's very, very hard for Jean to get a guaranteed pull here. At some point, you've just kind of got to go for it. But there's a lot at stake, a lot of risk associated with trying to come forward against these sharpshooters. Things went a bit wonky on the right-hand side here. Again, Milkrio trading quite often with the Bell of Tensai.
It also looked like Milkrio might have forgotten to break that wall immediately, meaning that Shu had sort of a latent entry into mid. Milkrio still, though, did get that wall break. Shu's back in position where they need to be. Melty's fishing for any shots on a tin side, trying to find the position. The wall break as well from Milkrio. A lot of times in a mode where the goal is to, you know, kill the enemy brawler and send them packing for the entire round, you'll see rocket fuel actually used for a kill confirm. In this situation, Milkrio's already used 2 just to break walls. He's got 2 left in his arsenal so far. No valuable damage really from Never Back Down and Crazy Raccoon. Crazy Raccoon have a couple of nest eggs down that are impeding the progress of Never Back Down. And hopefully they're all aware of their positions. Otherwise, it's free kills for the enemy team.
There are multiple kill confirms actually on the Never Back Down side, right? Yeah, I mean, rocket fuel is important. Also, Kooky Popper, and to some degree, Mandy Super also operates similarly. Spooky goes there, try and chase Melty down, but Moya eventually falls on that right-hand side. Scary stuff for Crazy Raccoon. They're going to fight to stay in this. Tatampo is healthy, though. Very healthy. Magic Hand, not needed. Somehow Shu comes out on top. What? Never Back Down. They're going to take us to 5.
Poison claims a victim yet again. Last time, it chipped a good chunk of HP off of Moya. This time, it takes down Tensai in the final most tense moments. They are 1 round loss away from being taken all the way to set 5 by Never Back Down, a possibility that they may have considered coming into this, but a lot of us in the audience just did not expect. Shu is still fishing for a super of his own, by the way. He's got to be close by now. He sacrificed a lot of HP just to stay in position to get some shots. We see Melty and Milkrio also equipped with their supers, and Tensai has the
dangerous.
But who is the ideal target is really a big question here.
Great shots from Melty to force Chitapo away. He was lining up for a Magic Hand, and Shu waits for his moment. What a sugar rush kill. Tensai falling into Melty. Not much he could do as Bella to break through that, oh god, 8,000 plus HP Gus. But he's marked. Moya knows it, but is taking a lot of damage and is largely outranged by the Gus, who has yet another shield to work with. It's over. It's over. Never back down. How about that? They can't believe it. They're taking this one all the way. They are going to have another 5-set game.
Look at Milkrio over here. Man, it always makes me happy to see Milkrio happy. Like, okay, look, I want my predictions to go well. Okay, now it makes me sad to see Tensai sad. See, look, there's no winning here. There's no winning here for me. Milkrio
he is not happy at all. Tensai is like, yo, we need to wake up now.
Can we lock in real quick? But Milkrio, I mean, look, if they win, then Milkrio's going to have the craziest celebration that you've ever seen, because this guy is always a treat to watch on cams, but they're still 1 set away from a victory for either side.
Yeah, and on the other side of that, of course, is our grand final that still would have to be played out. So it's a marathon for either team. Whoever makes it through is going to have to hope they have a bit left in the tank. Just as weird, you know. Well, I can see the clock behind you. What is that? 4:15? Just as we in the early hours of the morning. Tank. Just as weird, you know. Well,
he did get like 1 good kill with the super. That ended up shifting the momentum of the game. There it was right there.
Wow.
Tatampo did not even see it coming at all. You see Tensai move in as well, but Melty just popped him. See, this is why I look to Melty as sort of the difference maker here. I look to Melty and Milkrio, honestly. Milkrio held that right lane pretty consistently versus a tough opponent in Eve. Played that max range Brock really well. You see Milkrio, not actually any kills here, but competitive DPS compared with the rest of his team. So it's all about holding. Getting those kills, you know, optional, as long as you win the team game.
Well, also, if you can force out any sort of defensive resources or make it very hard for Bell to get involved, force the Gene outside of his Magic Hand range to try and sort of heal up, you've done your job. Chitapa, we don't expect to see the Gene really be credited with many kills and have a whole lot of damage. The game plan is build super, stay alive, try and set it up for your opponent. But yeah, a lot of kill confirmed potential. Kooky Popper, Rocket Fuel, It was all there. And finally, we got to see the Mandy really get some value. Shu awkwardly obviously has to stop, has to stand still for a time to get that bonus range, that obviously bonus impact with the Mandy. And not a lot of those supers were connecting. But hey, you only have to hit one of them to really turn the game on its head. Now you've gotten over that hurdle. You've got through knockout. One more set to go.
And drafting in progress as well. Everyone's very, very focused on what's coming up next. It all comes down to just one set to decide whether Crazy Raccoon, really the expected victors, at least for a lot of people, might be brought to their knees in the very first monthly final. We're headed to Split for a bit of hot zone action. This is another map that is re-entering the competitive map pool after its absence for a while. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. I really like this map. People have opinions about the 2-zone maps. We had parallel plays for a while, and it just didn't fit all on one screen. Now we got Split. Now you can look at all the action on 2 zones at the same time. It's almost twice the entertainment.
Rico, a popular brawler here. Again, very strong on that left-hand lane to bounce some shots in. We've seen Sprout also be really annoying to deal with. Some teams opt to try and open up as much of the map now, but we do have those unbreakable boxes that have been added, so you cannot completely clear a lot of this out. Sometimes we see Bull just like run in there to open things up, Daryl to bounce around. Those options not quite there. We've seen like in the past, like 8-bit mates using sort of cheat cartridge to make sure they can play aggressively on the point and then pull out. But of course, it's Cordelius, Stu, Charlie are the 3 big ones to look out for.
Yeah, I think honestly Split is one of these maps that is so crazy to draft because there are a lot of things that are very good here, and really what ends up dictating how this draft goes in the biggest way, and yes, this is true for basically everywhere, are the bans, but that's just because there's so many different directions this one could go in. I look to Larry for making some big plays here. You already brought up Rico. Rico's one of the brawlers on this map where if you have nothing to deal with him, then it's straight up GG. You are not getting past him. He could hold a lane versus 3 enemy brawlers and he wouldn't even break a sweat. So that's why we look to brawlers that have wall break. Honestly, Stu wouldn't be a bad first pick here. Another thing that should think about, especially for this region, is Ruffs that we've already seen already. So with Ruffs, Stu in mind for the wall break, if those don't get banned out, then I would say definitely look to the throwers or Rico to make some waves.
Cordelius picked up here straight away. A very strong brawler on this map. We see the Larry banned out. Charlie getting locked in here. So again, Cordelius, Charlie, Stu, those are the big 3. Stu obviously having been banned already. Ruff, someone worth talking about, right? Because again, you can play the left side really well. You can also, with sandbags, be pretty effective on the right. But a thrower like Barley is going to make that game plan a little harder. That's so static. You stand within the safe cover of those sandbags and you can get punished by a thrower. Oh, boy. Okay. Mortis is out. Prepare yourselves. Chop it away.
There's no counter for the guy. That's the biggest issue. We'll see if Tensai can still push through on the right side. And folks, it's musical lanes. Milkray is going to move wherever the Mortis isn't. He'll just move to the other side of the namesake Split formed out of obstacles. Melty doesn't mind moving over to deal with Tensai either, though. He gets free capture on the right side so far. With the wall break, it's going to make Milkray way less viable. For Tensai, he's still going to
watch out!
Even with the herbal tonic, it's just no use.
And Chitampo, man, the Spiderlings are really powerful against Cordelius. Yeah, just blocking those shots. Those kills are easy to come by. Chitampo builds super here. Tensai having a dodge out of that last call. That this is pretty good for Crazy Raccoon now. Moya clearing as many of these walls as possible. Making sure he has a clear shot on Shu at all times. He's got to come in with a bit of burst damage. The Spitball also being employed. Tensai, Shadow Realms presently, running from Melty as he just can't win a face-to-face fight there. He'll pop out and instantly into the cocoon goes to Cordelius. Spiderlings look to try and devour Shu as he looks to swing hard. Another super up there for Melty, but Crazy Raccoon, how we get the job done? This Mortis is a menace.
Wow. having the Charlie and then being able to pick the aggro is incredibly powerful here. I'm surprised that it wasn't considered a ton. I mean, you have that Barley. It's going to be weak towards something that's super aggressive, and the enemy has the Charlie. You have to expect that they will be running an aggro. They did pick up one of their own. They did get that BB in there. Tensai can do okay into the BB, just needs to play intelligently, try and bait out the knockback. On the right side, Milkrio's made some early plays just because the matchup is favorable to him. Tensai tries to dash all the way over the hardest way possible.
What?
Melty and Shu. Dampo's trying to diff this on the left side. We see the wall break too, and the takedown on Shu.
Milkrio's he's got to get away. Tensai is already bearing down on him. Pretty easy damage. So obviously Milkrio can safely pressure this left side point, but capturing it, that's a whole different story. Herbal Tonic now thrown down. Tensai looming. Melty knows he's the one that has to deal with this Mortis more often than not. No super use there from Melty, but good damage, enough to force Tensai away. Now we have a split down the middle.
It's literally, we should have Yakety Sax playing as Mortis is chasing Milkrio for the entire game. Milkrio's looking for a home, but Tensai refuses to let him survive. Tensai might get taken down.
Great knockback.
He's not careful. Wonderfully done as well. I like the tech as well from BB where she stays close to the wall so that Mortis can't dash all the way into her. But it feels like this has been learned a little bit too late. Crazy Raccoon are already at match point, and they are counting up the percentage towards a grand finals qualification.
Tensai chasing again. Milkrio, nothing you can do about that. There's no real answer to the Mortis outside of BB knocking him back or Cordelius dragging him down. Crazy Raccoon, yeah, they've got this one in the bag. There's no answer to this composition. What a beautiful showing from Crazy Raccoon. They get themselves out of what could have been a bit of a sticky situation.
And the first smile we've seen to this entire night as it goes into this one looked like he was dread. Milkrio, yeah, definitely disappointed. We saw him pretty overjoyed after the last one as they got themselves a spot in set 5 versus Crazy Raccoon. But to go like that, 100-0 draft like that, it felt is really, really heartbreaking. It felt like they had no chance once you saw how those two teams interacted.
I mean, what a roller coaster of emotions there for Never Back Down. They started the series in style, then suffered losses in the next 2 sets and managed to draw it back, which takes a fair bit of resilience. The Crazy Raccoon have been in positions like this before. They fought their way out of some of them they haven't. They've had to learn from those moments, those mistakes, and still find a way to win. This is the kind of team that are never to be counted out. Not even in the last set, not even if they had a terrible set 4. They always seem to be able to recenter themselves, regroup, and come up with a winning plan.
Love the draft. I'll say it again for Crazy Raccoon. I think that picking up the Charlie, she's a very desired brawler to have on this map because she's able to do Charlie things. She can put you in the cocoon. Oh, you want to play aggro? I will put you in the cocoon. And then it will be a free kill once you're out of the cocoon and my entire team is here to deal with you. Or maybe I just recruit some spiders by pressing the funny green button on my screen. I think this is also well done. Just good strategic thinking with that Mortis pick, knowing how hard it was going to counter the Barley. And this is why, folks, you just kind of don't pick throwers unless you have the last pick. When something so aggressive is open like that, when you have picks on your side that keep the enemy from countering the aggro, this is what happens. Look at the DPS. It's nuts for Crazy Raccoon.
Sometimes it's just a pick that can completely undo you. Most of the comp seemed fine, right? You had Cordelius is such a hotly contested brawler on this map. He can find a lot of value, take someone out of the picture. Can also use the Shadow Realm to cross over to the other side of the map, pop out, fight there. You have mobility in the jump, or you can take the silence. You can win any 1v1 with that super up, and that's great for just like plucking Mortis as he's midway through a dash trying to jump on your Barley. But the Barley's a huge vulnerability. We know why Milkrio's trying to take it. He sees a roughs. He's like, I've got to punish this. Like sitting around in the sandbags can't be allowed to happen. And he falls right into the trap. Straight away, Crazy Raccoon are like, I know just the answer for this. It might not have been an answer to Larry and Laurie at the height of their power, but assassins are good against throwers in general. Just not that one. When he was really overpowered and did ridiculous amounts of damage, I can't believe he was like that for as long as he was. But here's your MVP, Tensai, for the series, and it makes sense. He was very displeased after those first 3 sets, but kept it together and got his team over the line.
Yeah, and especially put on a pretty good show there towards the end with the Mortis pick. I mean, you put anyone on the Mortis versus the Barley, tell him, yeah, just chase the guy down the entire time, and he'll have a good time on that brawler. But I think a deserved reward after basically everything that the enemy team put them through over the course of that match, knowing that the expectations for you are so high and knowing just the sort of opponent that you're up against is very challenging.
I'm pretty excited about something we've got in the works here as well. If you remember, I mean, one of the most polarizing teams, heroes, then villains, then God knows what, SK Gaming. We've been working on a bit of a documentary, the team here at the Brawl Stars Championship. We all had a chance to sort of share our thoughts on this team who's, I mean, to say nothing else, completely iconic. So we look forward to letting you guys see that one. We're going to give you a little bit of a teaser. We're going to hear from our sponsors. We're going to head to a break and come back with our grand final of our APAC region.
Unbelievable scenes here. SK falling like cards.
The Snapdragon Pro Series Brawl Stars Championship, powered by Samsung Galaxy, is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, Monster Energy, and DHL.
This is the time. The time when dreams come true and legends are born.
Oh my word!
This is the place.
Some seriously spicy stuff. An absolute masterclass!
The place where teams from across the globe come to battle it out for their shot at glory.
Oh, you're kidding!
And a piece of up to $2 million in prizing.
No pressure, guys. No pressure.
This is the feeling.
It's beautiful!
The once-in-a-lifetime feeling of lifting the trophy at the Brawl Stars World Finals.
Here comes the push. Here's the damage. Ooh. This is now the crunch time.
This is the game.
Immediately taken down.
Still not going to fall. He refuses to die.
The game you love. This is the Brawl Stars Championship. Let's get ready to brawl.
Welcome back, folks, to the Brawl Stars Championship, powered by the Snapdragon Pro Series. Well, while I enjoy the inventions of Sakura Spike, which is the GOAT skin of the game, and Toon Spike lovers probably need to go directly to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200, I do want to point out just how excited I am about that upcoming documentary, Grudge Match, featuring SK Gaming. I mean, that is an org, honestly, that contributes a ton as well. Like, their content is incredible. Like, when I ever want to catch up on what they've been up to, like, man, I can see their boot camp, I can see their struggles, everything like that. Really charismatic and compelling team. So it's kind of cool that, you know, the team over at the Brawl Stars Championship get together and sort of, you know, create a documentary around them. And that match against Foot Esports that had so much on the line. A team that also, Kenny, they made a much longer run as well at the World Finals than we would have expected. They were underdogs at that event, which is not common for SK Gaming, but they impressed many people.
You know, they didn't come home with Worlds, but at the end of the day, their story was incredible. I mean, quite the journey all year long, and I can't wait to see how we captivate that and share that with audiences. Having heroes and villains as Brawl Stars is such an awesome thing. Having these great characters and players, it's so important, and it's just one more reason to love the esport, and awesome to see organizations like SK Gaming kind of giving that to us and being willing to share that with us.
Mate, seeing Ope walk across the stage and, you know, get in her face, it was a moment, and I'm telling you, that was like Gears of War esports level. I was loving it. Ready, set. We've got a story unfolding here in the APAC region as well. Walk us through the bracket so far and how we got to this grand final.
Yeah, let's actually start with our first grand finalist, Angelic. They started off facing How off broadcast and winning that one at double match point. Then versus Revenant Esports and still going the distance all the way to set number 5 with a convincing win over the guys as well and find themselves in the grand final. Crazy Raccoon, they started off versus Octopus Primes, a clean victory over them, just dropping one set along the way. Versus Never Back Down, not quite the same story. That was a dominant last set for them, and honestly, a 100-0 draft with the Mortis versus Barley, chasing Milkrio all the way around the map was Tensai. They found themselves in the grand final, but kind of scraped battered and bruised. Not really the sort of shape that we expected them to make it here in.
Well, gents, I hate to break it to you. We are going to be locked in predictions one way or another today. We all have Crazy Raccoon going all the way, although I know, Kenny, you were tempted. You wanted to put Angelic down here. This Hong Kong team has really impressed and surprised us with that convincing victory over Revenant.
I'm a sucker for just a miracle story. It's the opening month. I was really impressed with some of their drafts. It wasn't perfect. Of course, they've gone to 3-2s multiple times, and now they're playing Crazy Raccoon. I won't lie, though. I was tempted. Ultimately, I'm a little bit of a coward. I feel like Crazy Raccoon are the safe bet, and they deserve my respect, and they will get my prediction.
Yeah, respect also to crew. Still have this picture of me from like 2018. Man, I have aged. And not gracefully. Not for one moment. I've gone from suit and tie to like, I mean, I don't know what I am now. Shirt open, haggard, 2:30 in the morning, talking absolute smack. Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, yeah, don't worry about it. Buttons, overrated, ready? Don't need them. You got the flower shirt, just one more step, mate, and you'll be right in my domain. And ain't so bad here.
I can't be copying your style, and they're just like, my style's so terrible. No. It's terrible. The shirt's terrible. I can't have it open.
I would never accuse you of copying me. I would never do that. Even though you have the same hair as me.
Never do that.
You know? And yeah, you know, so you don't have your mic on the same side. There is that. Anyway, let's go and jump into it here. Angelic have surprised us, impressed us, and wowed us on occasion. Getting that win over Revenant is no mean feat at all, but now they're going up against Crazy Raccoon, who seem to have only gotten better ready over the course of this tournament. But it's a chance here to see Angelic not only get a bunch of circuit points in their pocket already, but now they can come at the king, and they best not miss.
They're fearsome. Kangi, King and Mizzy, like, these people are, I guess, about to be new big names in the APAC region, coming in as previously fairly unknown. And there's no better way to make a name for yourself than just putting raw numbers up on the board. A victory versus Crazy Raccoon would literally be the final nail in the coffin and set the tone for the rest of the year. Is it an off day for Crazy Raccoon today, or did they just focus more of their preparation on the grand finals? We'll find out. We'll see if Angelic can still pop off.
Let's just settle for drafts that make sense. You know, we know that from there on out, Kenny, this Crazy Raccoon team can absolutely execute. They just need the right plan.
I think the game plan is important. As good as mechanics are, drafts still go a long, long way. But at the end of the day, those mechanics are still going to be tough to overcome. 4 of 6 monthly finals wins last year, a semifinals at Worlds 2023, Satampo with the 2021 world champion, Tensai a double world champion. The accolades are unbelievable with this roster, so Angelic are going to have a lot on their hands. They're going to need perfect draft, perfect gameplay, and maybe in month number 1 they can do just enough to get another 3-2 kind of victory, but I don't think it's going to be able to be done in a 3-0 or any kind of fashion. Angelic are going to have to go the distance if they want to win this one.
Already talking about scorelines. I like it, Kenny. Before we let you go, Ready, what's your prediction on scoreline here? I know you have Crazy Raccoon taking it. Is it one-sided, or is it a tight one all the way to the finish line?
This will be a tight one, I think, skill-wise. I think Angelic have been really impressive with their drafts. I think that this match here is where Crazy Raccoon have focused most of their preparation draft-wise. So we'll expect, I think, better performance from Crazy Raccoon than in the previous ones. But given the skill that we've seen from Angelic, at least 1 set, possibly 2. But it's still got to be a CR win for me.
All right, CR locked in here for Ready Set. We'll let you go for now, and we'll get you back. Don't even think about sleeping. We've got a big game to come here, and of course, we'll catch up with you after to wrap things up. It's going to be myself, Uber, here. I can see the clock behind you. What is that? 4:15? Just as we, in the early hours of the morning, Hank, just as we.
Rare. Rare. Super rare. 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 Epic. Epic. Super rare.
Accessing anger management module. You're welcome.
Watch this! Spin to win! Till you drop!
So many specimens from the scatter